Hello, hello. It's another Saturday night, therefore, it's another episode of Shoot the Breeze. This is episode 230, man. Episode 230. Nice number. Glad to be here. I'm tired as hell, but I'm here for you guys as well as for myself to learn from you guys, to have discussions, to have, to think. So I'm here. We're gearing up here in New York for a blizzard. So I have to do a lot of running around. I hope you guys are safe wherever you are, stocked up if you need to be, to get through the next couple of days if your situation is similar to mine. You know what it is. I like to come on here before we start the show officially and let you guys know what we have in store for you tonight. And I think it's a good one. We got two topics carrying over from last week that we didn't get to. Who keeps this guy, or who keeps giving this guy a microphone? We're going to talk about it. Did you hear Haitians are Latino or Latinx or whatever the hell you want to call it? We're going to talk about the Epstein files and what the Epstein files say about Western quote-unquote morality. We're going to talk about Zionism in Africa, how land is being bought in Africa for the purpose of Zionist interests. How will this turn out? And then we're going to talk about a white guy who gets it more than some of us, in reference to the Ghanaian and Kenyan women who had sex with the Russian guy. So we are going to discuss those things tonight. Hopefully we get through all of them. Not sure if we will. But those are the topics for tonight. Drop a 1 for me if you can hear my voice. I didn't ask for that yet. But just let me know that you're out there. Let me know that I'm broadcasting across the airwaves of the digital airwaves of YouTube. In the meantime, while I wait for a response, make sure you join the Discord. We can do with a variety of topics. And because you guys have different interests, varieties of interests, you guys can bring some of your interests to these Shoot the Breeze conversations. I'm going to start doing a feature soon where I'm going to have people vote on what topics we should discuss for Saturday Night Shoot the Breeze. I'm also going to introduce a membership, very inexpensive membership I'm going to introduce and roll out in the future. If that's something you think will interest you, let me know. No one is responding to me with a 1, and that doesn't make me feel too good. So let me go and figure it out myself, I guess, if my voice is being transmitted. Okay, yeah. My voice is being transmitted over YouTube. So with that said, I'm going to start the show officially. And on the other side, I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce any and all guests. In the meantime, please like the show, share it on your socials, and invite a friend to come and check it out with us. But in the meantime, do stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the revolutionary matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Right now I see Kofi is in the chat. He says, I hear you. So thanks for that, Kofi. In the meantime, man, without further ado. Make sure you guys are tuned in to BBN Network. That's my Bakari. Make sure you're tuned in to Kofi the Black Critic. He had a good live recently. You guys go check that out. Make sure you're tuned in to Consider Cheek, Ram in the Bush. And last but not least, because this brother active, make sure you're tuned into the Forecast Radio. And I'm going to announce something later on about Forecast. I want you guys to definitely check out what that brother did recently. But we'll talk about it later on during the course of the show. In the meantime, I'm just going to get right into it, man. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. Hold on a second. YouTube is doing some things with my comments, blocking comments. I don't know why. Let's try that again. Should have reached topic number 1 tonight. Who keeps giving this guy a microphone? This is going to take us to X, I believe. Let me see. Let me try to set it up and share my screen. Let's see if this works. Okay, so there's my screen. But before we actually get into it, I guess Buana was waiting for me to announce Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. Buana, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Koku. I was knocked out, bro. I was knocked out. I'm good. I'm here, Koku. I'm here.
Okay. You were sleeping. Yeah, I feel you, man. I appreciate you coming through, though. I really do. I don't know. My computer's, I don't know what's going on, but we're going to try to get through it, man. Like I said, should have reached topic number 1. Who keeps giving this guy? This is the most common sense you will hear today. We are the only people who walk the earth. We say, oh, brother. No, I am not your brother. Wow. Okay. Let's listen to what Frank, what's his name? Frank Zans. Let's listen to what he has to say.
So you're saying because the continent of Africa is diaspora?
What are you unified around?
That's something we could build. What is the purpose of Pan-Africanism Pan-Africanism if you're saying that unity is impossible?
But you said it as if I believe in Pan-Africanism. It's the most stupid, bogus thing anybody to even say.
But you spoke about worldview earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if our worldview was to uplift each other?
Whose worldview?
Black people.
Which black people?
All black people.
No, there is no such thing. You can't go to Asia and say all Asian people.
But why not?
I am telling you, this is the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
We are the only ones who walk the earth, and as soon as you see a black person at the airport, oh, brother. No, I'm not your brother.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Have you gone to Europe and you had an Italian man calling a German brother?
Fuck them. What's wrong with me seeing you at the airport?
This is the problem.
Explain it to me then.
Okay.
I don't get it.
Let me ask you. Let me tell you something. The story of Chaka the Zulu region.
Okay.
So that's the man you're going to unite with?
No.
Okay. I'm just telling you. We think that skin color makes you and me the same. We're not. I am from a small tribe called the Ajak tribe in Benin. Benin is only 6.5 million people with over 40 tribes. When I say tribe, I mean the language is like French and Chinese. I don't have anything in common with the 49 other people in my country. Nothing in common. They speak a different language. They have a different God, a different religion, different food, different forms of wear and culture, traditions, and customs. We were forced, carved, and say, remain here. He's not my brother. Now you're asking for a global brotherhood of all black people. Why would the black people be different from any continent? Europe is a global community of white people. And they don't go around saying brother and sister. Asia is a community of all yellow and sister. Same with the Middle East, same with everywhere. Where only when it comes to black people you think we are all the same. We're not the same.
So I'm going to play that again, only because it seemed like it was buffering on my end. And I don't know if you guys was getting that as well. So I'll play it again. Before I play it, the guy's name is Zanu. I said Zank or some shit. It's Frank Zanu. Trigger Happy in the chat says, this part should have been the point of no return for Zanu. Trigger also says, I'm so damn sick and tired of people lazily comparing Asia to Africa and thinking they're smart. You're not saying anything profound, LOL. Lastly, Trigger says, Africa is probably the only place where we are a lot more aligned with landmass and race. Even North Africans are just mixed. Asian is not a unified race at all and never will be. So those are some thoughts from Trigger coming from the chat. But I want y'all to pay attention to something. Again, I'm going to play it again, but I want y'all to pay attention to something. Frank Zanu just suddenly appears in the midst of the ADOS, FBA, diaspora war stuff that we have going on online. And he's coming here with a big Benin accent. And he's coming to tell you we should not be looking to unite. I wonder why that is. I think the play is easy to see. But let me play it again, and then we'll discuss it.
So you're saying because the continent of Africa is not unified, then we can't have a global unification of the black diaspora?
But what are you unified around?
That's something we could build. What is the purpose of Pan-Africanism if you're saying that unity is impossible?
Well, you said it as if I believe in Pan-Africanism. It's the most stupid, bogus thing anybody to even say.
But you spoke about worldview earlier, right? So what if our worldview was to uplift each other?
Whose worldview?
Black people.
Which black people?
All black people.
No, there is no such thing. You can't go to Asia and say all Asian people.
But why not?
I am telling you, this is the mistake. We are the only ones who walk the earth, and as soon as you see a black person at the airport, oh, brother. No, I'm not your brother.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Have you gone to Europe and you had an Italian man calling a German brother?
Fuck them. What's wrong with me seeing you at the airport?
This is the problem.
You had to explain it to me then.
Okay.
I don't get it.
Let me ask you. Let me tell you something. The story of Chaka the Zulu.
Chaka Zulu.
What was he famous for before they killed him? Tormenting fellow black tribes in that region.
Okay.
So that's the man you're going to unite with?
No.
Okay. I'm just telling you. We think that skin color makes you and me the same. We're not. I am from a small tribe called the Ajak tribe in Benin. Benin is only 6.5 million people with over 40 tribes. When I say tribe, I mean the language is like French and Chinese. I don't have anything in common with the 49 other people in my country. Nothing in common. They speak a different language. They have a different God, a different religion, different food, different forms of wear and culture, traditions, and customs. We were forced, carved, and say, remain here. He's not my brother. Now you're asking for a global brotherhood of all black people. Why would the black people be different from any continent? Europe is a global community of white people, but they don't go around saying brother and sister. Asia is a community of all yellow Asians in Asia. They don't go around calling each other brother and sister. Same with the Middle East, same with everywhere. Where only when it comes to black people, you think we are all the same. We're not the same.
I agree with Trigger Happy. This should have been the point of no return, but it's funny too. This Frank Zanu guy reminds me, just looking at him, of an African guy some years ago. There was a guy on the continent being interviewed by a sister, and this guy was saying stuff like, we don't need blacks in the diaspora. We have enough. We could do it ourselves. We don't need them. They left, and we don't need them. And this guy, Frank, looks a lot like that guy, as a matter of fact, to me, in my memory. But the thing that he's doing is a straight up, he's basically a chaos agent. Don't tell me there's no pan-Europeanism, because I just saw Marco Rubio go and appeal to pan-European ties, an appeal to imperialistic pursuits of Europeans. And I saw Marco Rubio, who's some type of Spanish, talk about being the son or the child of Europe. So don't tell me that there's no Pan-Asian or Pan-Arabism or Pan-Asianism when the time comes. This guy's lying. And I wonder who's putting the battery in his back. Bono, what say you to all of it?
Yeah, I agree with you, Coco. This gentleman always enters. He's always sitting in the audience of people who are not as informed as he is. He's always sitting in audiences, and I'm not saying ignorant people, but he's always debating with people who cannot refute a lot of the comments that he makes. Just as with the ease of which you did that just now, and mentioned Marco Rubio, and how Marco Rubio went to Munich and he gave a speech to the Europeans there, and he talked about the brotherhood among them and him being the son of Europe. And in China had the same issues. China was a population of people with different languages, with different cultures. But what made them brought them together to become a unified nation, and more unified than his little tribalist view of the world. He is the answer to FBA. He is a little African nativist promoting his little tribe, not understanding the world affairs that exist outside of the position that he is particularly in. He said, well, there's no brotherhood to my neighbors next door. No brotherhood, no whatsoever. As if the culture may not be the same, but it sure is similar. And there's a reason for that. So he is the answer for that. He's a nativist. He is a tribalist. And he remains small in his own worldview and continue to be conquered. And these kinds of people, you just need to roll over them. You just need to roll over them. You know, they get carried away by the masses. It's not what this one particular person says. Because if we are stronger than you, then your voice can be it's just going to be overlooked by the major voices that exist and say, well, we are one. What are you talking about? The AES is stronger than Frank Zanu. And if the AES, which is 3 different countries, find a meaning to get together and say, well, we should be unified. Who is this man from Benin? Who is he? He is an implant. He's an implant. He come out of nowhere, and he have such a voice now to bring arguments to the black world to say, well, we shouldn't operate in the way and manner. But he always enters room with black people who are not able or capable enough to refute some of the ridiculous arguments that he makes. I remember when he was on the Karen Hunter show, and he had to, well, he didn't back down because it was so embarrassing. But obviously, a lot of the points that he makes are ridiculous, and the world affairs is changing, but he wants to remain very small with his ideas of the world. I'm not trying to dismiss or invisibilize the fact that his grouping of people in Benin is important to him, but we are dealing with global affairs, not continental affairs, not even local or tribal affairs. We're talking about global matters that will affect him and his neighbors as well, on the continent. So if he wants to remain small, that's on him, man. Either you roll with us or you just get rolled over. That's just what it is in these kinds of dialogues and ideas now. So he could talk all he wants to over a microphone, but like I say, he is very safe because he knows what rooms to go in to try to carry off these arguments, because he know they won't work well in other kinds of rooms. He knows and understands these kinds of things, or whoever sent him. But that's what I think about him.
Yeah, I issue a challenge to Frank Zanu. Come on, shoot the breeze. Let's discuss Pan-Africanism and your anti-Pan-Africanism, and let's see how the conversation goes. You're talking to these two young fellas who they're still early and they're still early in their understanding, right? They don't know how to combat you guys like you yet. Come on, and in fact, I'm going to tag him in the clip of this when I'm done. Right? Come on. But quickly, Juan, if you don't mind, if you do you remember what the conversation was on the Karen Hunter show that he had to kind of back down off of?
He was saying that Black Americans don't have no culture, and the person who Karen Hunter who had on the panel was a Black professor, and he get into explaining some of the things of why he meant and what he said, and he made some good points, but he couldn't refute the fact that the Black American professor who was having a conversation with him had points as well. There's a great book called Africanisms. I can't particularly remember the name of the author right now. It's right here. I don't want to get up right now because I have the book, where it talks about the Black American culture, language, speech, foods. It goes through a myriad of different things in terms of the Black American culture. And I'm saying that if you read, you would understand how ridiculous these arguments are. But they only appear to be relevant and relevant arguments when you're in rooms with people who don't know any better. If you get in rooms with people who know better, your arguments don't seem so smart. A person who can't fight, they're going to seem like a giant in a room with people who are non-fighters. But if you get them in a room with people like Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, well, now we really test to see whether your ideas sell in the marketplace or you just by yourself.
Appreciate that, Juan. Thanks for that. That book might be by Joseph Holloway, if I'm not. I could be wrong. Africanisms and American culture. In the chat, Trigger Happy says, first of all, Kofi, the Black Critic, says Rubio is Cuban. Yeah, I know he was some kind of Latin or Spanish or whatever you want to call it. And that man went over there and said, yeah, we're the children of Europe, man. Trigger says Europe has unified militaristic ties. They have the EU, which indicates political and economic ties. They unify either under Christianity or Greco-Romanhood. He goes on to say it's always funny when people say race is a social construct, but ethnicity is one too. Many ethnicities are new and not some ancient entity. ethnic groups come from older groups all the time. He says ethnic groups splinter. They move and combine to make new groups or they create new names. Also, race in Africa was always a tool of division. Pan-Africanists use race for unity all the time. Is the last comment from Trigger. He says, when Jope speaks of blackness or Garvey speaks of blackness, it's always meant to unify, which is far from deconstructive of the original purpose of race in Africa that seek to further divide. I like that commentary there from Trigger Happy. Juan, if you don't have no last thoughts, I guess we'll go on to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2. This one is an interesting one. Actually, you know what? Let's introduce Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm driving right now. I'm great. I'm great. I just left mute the theme park, so I'm heading home, but I decided I'd pick up with you guys. I see this is the prompt that I had posted about the ZANU guy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm just wondering who keeps giving this dude is so wrong damn near 90% of the time. Everything he says is wrong. And I'm wondering who is giving this guy a platform, is giving him a microphone. I mean, they used to be believable. And this is not even believable, the stuff he says. Like, when he says Europeans don't call themselves brother, like, why should we model ourselves on what they do, what they say? Like, then he was saying in one video, Africans never had an empire. Then he gave some definition he made up in his head. I'm just wondering who's funding this guy, because he really seems like he came out of nowhere. He says a bunch of things very definitively that are absolutely wrong. So I'm questioning, why is this man being platformed? And the answer to my question is that he is brought to bring this unity among African people. And at a time when the white world is organizing and uniting for a renaissance of imperialism and colonialism, him thinking that black people should be disunified is an act of treason. And I think we have to start treating these agents like the traitors that they are to our people, because his stance, if we listen to it, leaves us very vulnerable to European aggression. And I think that's his goal. And I think that's what he's meant to do. And the fact that I see him more and more just lends more proof to my idea.
Absolutely, Black Steel. Yeah, this guy is pushed out here. Like I said, I'm gonna tag him. I'm gonna add him because I think he has a YouTube. I'm pretty sure he has a YouTube channel. I'm gonna add him. Or hit him on X and see if he'll respond. I doubt he would. But thanks for coming through, Black Steel. I appreciate it. I know you're driving and stuff like that. So I'm going to go to Shoot Breeze topic number 2. And this one's an interesting one. I really would like to hear what you guys have to say about it. Shoot Breeze topic number 2. Did you hear Haitians are Latino? This, let me share this tweet from Gene. And the racists come rushing to gatekeep as if it's some kind of private club for white passing people of color. I wonder why that is. So let's watch this video. And then we'll discuss.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Haitians are Latino, bro. I don't care who disagrees. And I personally do not care who thinks they get to gatekeep identity and culture like it's a fucking private club. Haitians are Latino. I'm not hearing anybody out on this. Haitians are Latino. And people love to jump to language like it's the deciding factor. But they don't speak Spanish. Okay. Brazilians don't speak Spanish either. And nobody questions whether we're Latino. That argument collapses the second you think about it for more than 5 seconds. Latino is not a language or a skin color. It never was. It was geography, history, blood, resistance, and across borders that were drawn by Europeans. Did not place. ones to tell Europe no. The first ones to tell Europe fuck yourself. They were the ones to burn the instead of their role in it. The first black republic in the Western Hemisphere. The first successful slave revolt. That did not just change Haiti. It scared the entire colonial world. And people wonder why Haiti has been punished, isolated, destroyed, destabilized, and nations are somehow outside Latin America is not accidental. It's convenient. Because once you erase Haiti from the Latino identity, you also erase the fact that black liberation is foundational to Latin American history. You make Latino identity safer, lighter, easier to digest. You get to pretend our roots are not soaked in blood, rebellion, and black resistance. And I'm not doing that. So yeah, if you're Haitian watching this, I shouldn't even have to explain this to you. You're one of us. You're already one of us. Literally, you already belong. You always did. And I wholeheartedly, we all share the same historical wound, kind of. And I say all that to say this, man. A lot of Latino spaces still struggle with anti-blackness. And I'm not saying this to disrespect. This is just a fact. That didn't come from nowhere. It came from colonization, caste systems, colorism, and generations of being taught that proximity to whiteness meant safety. So when Haitians show up speaking Creole, visibly black, unapologetically themselves, it forces people to confront parts of Latino identity they were taught to suppress or deny. So instead of dealing with that discomfort, people start drawing fake lines. They're Caribbean, but they're not Latino. They're black, but they're not us. It all goes back to conditioning. And like I said, man, there's a major between Latino. It's not the same. Latino does not mean Latino means we survived something together, even when we survived it differently. You don't have to erase your own culture to make room for Haiti. There's room. There's always been room. The only thing blocking it is ego, ignorance. That's all. This doesn't make me close-minded. Some truths don't need a panel discussion. Haitians are Latinos. Period. And the more we stop arguing over labels and start honoring shared history, the harder it becomes for the same systems that exploited all of us to keep us divided. And that's remembering who we are.
So I guess the real underlying question is, why are Haitians Latino as opposed to Latinos being African? Or why is Haiti being singled out as Latino? How come no one ever says, by the way, Haitians, I'm from a neighboring country to Haiti. None of us have ever called ourselves Latino. That never even crossed our mind. So why is it? I see Kofi says he's not wrong. I get why Kofi might say he's not wrong, but why is it that you're selecting Haiti to be Latino as opposed to the other way around? I'm curious about that. Kofi just joined us. Kofi, how are you this week?
I'm doing good. I think if he's talking about Haiti, already he's pinpointing to a geographical location. So if he's talking, well, where that Haitians are Latino, and we understand the historical dynamic of where Haiti is and its quote unquote neighboring country, Dominica, the Dominican Republic, it just totally makes sense, right? Because let's break down what a Latino person is. A Latino person is 1/3 Spaniard, 1/3 African, and 1/3 Taino or Carib, right? So we know that that's the makeup. So we know back then on that island, as well as in Haiti too, but on the side of the Dominican Republic, it's more of a battle of colorism, right? So everyone is trying to be white and trying to be Spaniards, right? So there's a lot of colorism happening. Versus on the other side of the island, you have Haiti, 1804. They got rid of all that colorism. They got rid of all the mulattoes and all the people there that wants to be adjacent to the French. So you got the same island, two different people with two different type of histories playing out. And it could be anecdotal experience, but I've seen now that Haitians comes in all different types of shades. That guy could be Haitian. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I've learned like 3 years ago. You can't tell a Haitian from a person that's from Dominican Republic, because they can look at you think, oh, Dominican Republic, you thinking someone like a Celia Cruz or something like that. No. They could be very well Haitian at the same time. And again, it's a border. Now, again, using my anecdotal experience, I have a Haitian friend that I grew up with since like freaking junior high school. His parents and they're pretty much, Wesley Snipes black, right? They've been kissed and blessed by the sun, right? His aunt is a little bit light skinned, not that light skinned, but she's light skinned. When his cousin came over, I'm like, wait, that's your cousin? She looks like a straight up Puerto Rican girl. You would not know. So I'm thinking, wait. And I'm asking this question and no one doesn't want to answer it. Did your aunt went on the other side of the island and mess with a Dominican guy? Because there's no way you're telling me this is the blood of Dessalines. That's just not a thing. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of intermixing there, right? There's intermixing there. I want to know anyone from Haiti, from the island, would deny that there's not some mixing there on the island. People going to Haiti. I mean, Haitians going to Dominican Republic. You know what I'm saying? Under the radar of colorism and because Dominicans don't like Haitians. We know that already. We know that there was plenty of massacres in Dominican Republic trying to get rid of Haitians. They were doing it was an actual thing. I forgot what date, but I forgot what date and what event, but where there was plenty of effort of the Dominicans trying to suppress blackness there, but especially Haitians. I heard a couple years ago, probably like a good 5 years ago, that they were like killing and massacring people that are Haitian. I've heard before they had Haitians, I think it was during one of the time of the earthquakes or something like that, and it was seeking like refuge. And the Dominican Republic would not let them in. Would not let them in. You know what I'm saying? So there's a differentiation between a Dominican and a Haitian, but at the same time, there's also mixing. So that's pretty much it.
Some good points there, Kofi. I think the issue that I have is that, like I said, you ain't never heard a Haitian say they were Latino. By the way, Unc was here for a second. Unc, I was going to introduce you, but your mic was open. I have to mute you, but you're welcome to come back up. It's fine. Just make sure to mute your mic when you come up so we don't hear the feedback. But I've never heard a Haitian. And by the way, the rest of the Caribbean is in so-called Latin America. You don't hear none of us call ourselves Latino.
That's true.
So I'm trying to figure out how, and I've never until recently, and I'll tell you who the first person is. I heard say this in a minute. I've never heard no one, no Latin American people ever say Haiti was Latino until just recently. So I find it very interesting. I find it very, very interesting. All of a sudden, Haitians are Latino.
But one thing though, I think I understand it's confusing. I understand that, but in a way, I kind of like that, only because it kind of turns this colonial Spaniard ideology of what Hispanic Latino person is, because people from Dominican Republic and other Latin places like Cuba and things like that have this anti-black sentiment that they have. They just start saying, you know what? They are Haitians that are Latino. That it turns everything on its head. So it's not something that I would fight.
Nah, it's something I would fight. and I'll tell you why through a comment that Trigger Happy made. He said earlier, why shouldn't Haitians base their identity on how they survived French terrorism and kept African syntax, African vocabulary, and African spirituality? They consider themselves an African people. So it's a weird thing that these folks now are now putting them in this category of Latino. Let me welcome in Unc real quick. Unc, how are you this week? Welcome to the show, by the way.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you, Unc.
Hey, what's going on? I feel like this is nothing but an attachment to them wanting the Haitians now to be part of something that they never wanted them to be part of. And it's a far-fetched for a cry of help. Because if you speak to the average, even if they darker than I am, and I'm a pretty dark person, they could be darker than I am. And they will say, me no black. But now you want the Haitians to be Hispanic. Why? Because y'all share an island. Y'all hate people that saved y'all. If it wasn't for the Haitians, they wouldn't have had that half of the island that they have. So, and as much as hatred as they have for those people, now they want them to be part of them. That's crazy. Let whatever going on with them, let it be. Haitians need to get their stuff together and let the other half of the island be the way it is. Because it should be no attachment. Don't love the person that hates you. Love yourself and let them, if they hate you, let them hate by themselves and leave them alone, because sooner or later they see that hate does nothing but hurt their own self. And that's what's happening now. All the hatred that they had for them, now they need them. That's how I feel about it.
Appreciate that, Unc. Thanks for coming through, by the way. Unc, if you guys weren't there, he was having a one-on-one discussion with Kofi on over on Kofi's channel this past week. A really good, solid conversation. You guys check that out for more. Uncle's also a part. I think Uncle's also on the panel for the To Be Fair show, so you guys can check that out as well. Black Steel Man, what say you? Did you hear Haitians are Latino?
Well, I'm of two minds on this. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, wanted to make sure I'm not going through a dead zone. So anyways, I'm of two minds about this situation, because how would we define a person who has Latino? What criteria do you have to be Latino? And this is why race and ethnicity are so kind of sketchy, because any person of any race can be Latino, right? There's a whole demographic of Afro-Latino people, right? I think one of the connections is language, right? And they use a Romance language, of which Latin is the root. French is definitely considered to be a Romance language. So is Portuguese, so is Italian, so is Spanish, mainly Spanish, right? So when we think of like Latin languages, we think of those languages that derive from Latin that were at once part of the Roman Empire. But I never heard anybody say French Canadians are Latino, and they speak French. You wouldn't go to Quebec and say these white people are Latinos, even though they speak a Romance language. They speak a language derived from Latin, right? But I also know culture, ethnicity is a part of it too. Like you said, Coco, I never heard it said that Haitians were Latin American or Latinos, even though they do belong to the geographic region of Latin America. But however, you don't consider those islands like Jamaica, which speak English, or the Virgin Islands to be Latin America either. So I'm just really curious as to why. However, it does connect Haiti by calling Haitian Latino, or including them in Latin culture. It does connect to the wider struggles of Latin America for independence. And I'm speaking about Simon Bolivar, also known as the Liberator in Latin America. When he was defeated in Spain, he went to Haiti and he received aid from the Haitians. And the Haitians only request was that he free the slaves when he liberated those areas. So much of Latin America, as we call it, would not have been liberated from Spanish control had it not been for Haiti. And I think by acknowledging, saying Haitians are Latino or whatever, that connects them to the larger struggle. However, it's not necessary. I don't feel like it's necessary to even do that. You can still acknowledge the debt that you owe to Haiti without having to make them a part of you. But if you're just looking at the standard definition, I guess you could kind of fudge it if you really wanted to. I suppose so. But then, like Unc was saying, there's a lot of animosity towards, Latin people, especially Dominicans, toward Haitian. Like Kofi mentioned, it was a massacre called the Parsley Massacre. I believe it was in 1937, where the Dominicans were literally slaughtering the Haitians, but they couldn't tell the difference. So they had them pronounce a certain word in Spanish. And if their accent was a little bit off, they would kill them because they were trying to determine who was a part of the group or not. So there's definitely some animosity between the two groups. But also, too, there's been a lot of cooperation, a lot of support. Venezuela, for example, used to give Haiti oil before the U.S. took it over. It helped them build, create infrastructure. So I think that by admitting them, saying they're Latino, I guess it's just trying to connect them to the larger Latin community, of which Haiti has played a part. But again, I don't think it's really necessary to make them Latino. Like, okay, so Haitian Latino, now what? Does that eliminate the anti-Blackness in Latin society? Because there's plenty of Afro-Latinos all over the Caribbean. The Afro-Latinos in Cuba, in the DR, and, in Puerto Rico. Exactly. Does that eliminate so by saying or by saying that Haitians are Latin, what does that change? Does that say, okay, well, we don't be racist anymore. We want to acknowledge the role you played in our freedom? I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. I do understand why. And you could, like I said, you could fudge it in there. But to me, it's an unnecessary step to me. So I'll just leave it there before I run off the road with this semi truck. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Black Suit. Make sure you're safe more than anything. Trick in the chat says also the guy in the video said Latino identity is based on geography. That makes no sense either when the primary argument for Latino identity is that of language. A lot of slaughters out there in the chat rocking the red, black, and green. Trigger says, I talk to Haitians online about this. They explain that this is purely a diaspora delusion. No one in Haiti says they are Latino, Latina. It's just a college kid thing or maybe even a girl thing. Shout out to the matron. Make sure you guys are supporting and subscribe to the matron's channel, at our matron, the revolutionary matron. She says, why aren't Latinos African? And that's my thing. You guys want to pull Haiti into y'all shit. Well, how come y'all don't pull yourselves into being African?
The thing
when that makes more sense.
But that's what I was saying. If they calling themselves, if they're gonna adopt Haiti as Latinos, and they're gonna pretty much, you have to incorporate. You're not really erasing the fact that they're African, because they all realize that they're African, more African than them. Then that's what I'm saying. It kind of turns their whole colonial Spanish ideology of what is a Latino person, what is it looks different now as far as like what the standard. But I mean, everyone's making good points. It's not something I really fight. I do agree with Black. Still, not something really necessary, but whatever. Go ahead, on.
I feel like, you know what I'm saying, everybody like Haitians actually speak Creole. So if you're gonna say that Haitians are part of your diaspora because they speak French, they don't speak French, they speak Creole. So why don't you say the people from Louisiana are also Latino?
Good point. That's a good point.
Great point, because Creole is African.
So that's the whole thing, is that they might be a little bit, because Haiti has been going through the struggles they're going through and everything. But regardless on what, you wouldn't, if you are a little bit more powerful than they are the ones that got you to where you at. You never gonna have the person that want to fight for you, and then you tell them they part of you because they want to fight for you. That's crazy. That's what happened. If it wasn't for them, it would be no them. And they treat them so bad no matter what part you go to. And I don't see how, you know what I'm saying, it could be part of Latin America when how is it that when it actually should be part of the Caribbean? It doesn't, you understand what I'm saying? If you look how close it is to Miami, so you saying Miami is part of the Latin, you know what I'm saying, part of Latin America as well? Because it don't sit that far from you understand what I'm saying, as far as where it sits at.
To your point, people say Miami is the capital of Latin America.
They say that Miami is the capital of Latin America.
Yes, that's actually a saying. I don't know. That's actually a saying.
It could be said that because it's probably so many people there, but you look at, I'm just saying, you could look at a map. We just talking, as y'all kept telling me the other day, factual. Look where it's at. You know Miami ain't in Latin America. I'm just being honestly far as what it said, but it's right now they want somebody to grasp on, but y'all look down on these people for so long. Now all of a sudden you want them to be part of you. No, go away. They trying to get their stuff together. Y'all didn't want them around, and even when you know what I'm saying, no matter what part you go, no matter even in all areas, it's always darker people always look down, even if they are Afro, Latinos, or this, that, whatever. The darker skinned people, the ones that come from Africa are looked down on. They are. And I don't, you know what I'm saying? To me, far as I know, and as I can see it with them, Haiti is probably one of the only places that you can go outside of Africa and find 100% nothing but African blood there with some of the people that's there. So, with you saying that these African
my
people,
fault. I'm in a dead zone right now. My fault. No, what I was saying is that what would we consider to be Latin America? Like, for example, a country like Belize that they speak is, you could technically say it's in Latin America, but they speak English in Belize. So because they don't speak that language, people kind of fudge it in. Guyana's another good example. Guyana's a good example. They speak English in Guyana, not a Latin language. Jamaica, they speak English in Jamaica. That's not really a Latin language. And I mentioned before, in French Canada, they don't consider Quebec a part of Latin America, even though they speak French. You know, it's a lot of ins and outs of the situation. I think
I feel like that most people that they call themselves Latin, majority of them speak Spanish or either Portuguese. It's one of the two because they're similar languages. So to me, those are the languages that anybody that, you know what I'm saying, from like that area, that's what they, and it's not fair for them to group all these different people into one type of people just because of what the language that they speak. They are not, they're completely different cultures and everything else that has to do with them, but you lump them all together because all of them speak one language. That's crazy. But that's the world we live in. And they allow them to do that to them. Until a person accepts that I'm not the same as this person here and that person here just because we speak the same language, they are, you know what I'm saying? Some of them or even might be indigenous to that land, but they speak that language, but now they want to lump them into this right here. And these people come from over here, this, that, whatever. It's not, people should be allowed to have their own cultures without certain people grouping them together because they just want to do that. And that's what happened to them. Somebody grouped all of them together because all of them spoke Spanish or Portuguese, and now they're calling them Latin people. No, that's not fair to them. That's not fair to any of them. In my book.
Appreciate that.
I apologize.
No apologize for. Appreciate that. Trigger Happy in the chat says, I have a theory that women online push the Latin thing because this is approval, because globally Latin women have a sort of soft power that is palatable. Maybe Haitian women want it for that reason. Sorry, I just lost track of something here. In the chat, Brother Bakari said Haitians are Latinos according to this KKK culture. They are called Latino because their language comes from Latin language. Saying they are Latino now makes it easier for this regime to deport them. I like that comment, man. Let's welcome in Brother Bakari this week. Brother Bakari, how are you?
Peace and black African power to my black African family, man. I'm great. How about you?
Doing good, man. Thanks for coming through.
And man, if we got a black steel out there in a rig doing my job, I can't even argue with him because he might be in the But anyway, them claiming Haitians now, and be safe on that road too, Black Steel. You say you in that thing, you be safe out there, man. But them claiming Haitians now, so Haitians will become the buffer, man. They will become the buffer of who will be snatched up first. That's the purpose of reeling them in, especially over here. That's the purpose of reeling them in. That's what they have always done to our people over here. They always want to use us as the buffer, and we're the ones that get hurt. So according to what they call a Latino, Haitians would have been a Latino because their language comes from the Latin language, according to this KKK culture, right? But they were never that. Don't you find it strange that all of a sudden now they want them to be Latino because they're going to be the buffer? Because when you look at these other so-called Latino countries, right, you don't see the Afro-Latinos over here that much. It's always the whiter ones, right? So who do they treat bad in their countries? The black ones, the African ones. So now let's bring in these people, right? Be cool with them. Yep. Their own people treat them bad, right? Mm-hmm. Black African Americans have treated them bad ever since they've been here. So now maybe we can bring them in.
I can't agree with that. I
got you. I understand you can't agree with it. But so now let's bring them in, and we can be friendly with them. And they can be the buffer. They will be the ones we push out. So that new warehouse they got down there in Social Circles, Georgia, that's designed to hold 10,000 people. Let's go see how many Haitians we can put up in there first, so you can get Haitians before you get the Enrique Rodriguez Sanchez Lopez, before you get them. And on that, I yield the mic.
Appreciate that, Brother Bakari. I was going to say something. A lot of slaughter in the chat. I just lost the thing. He says it's a psyop. He says they're trying to separate the African diaspora so they can go into Africa without any restrictions or consequences. With that said, man, last but not least, Buana, you've heard everything everyone else had to say.
Yes. So I take a different perspective on this. First of all, shout out to Unc. I appreciate the fact that he take up the invitation to come to chop it up with his brothers. Y'all be easy on Unc tonight. Unc, you have a free reign, man. You could disagree with us all you want to, brother. You know, I appreciate you coming here. You know, first and foremost.
I only disagree with that because I grew up with Haitians, and Haitians are my friends. You know what I'm saying? I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah,
and we
no
grew
sweat
up together, and it wasn't no problem with us, far as like he's saying, all black people didn't. Maybe that's from your region. Everybody can speak their facts, but you can't speak for everyone. When you say that, don't say. You can say most of this, but don't put all of us into anything and put all of us as the way it was. We didn't grow up like that. Maybe certain areas did, but where I was from, it wasn't like that. We all grew up together, and we were all friends.
Okay, so so my perspective is this: whatever titles that these people try to label us, whether it's Latino or they call us British or English in the English-speaking Caribbean, or French in the French-speaking Caribbean, the truth is, we may be partially these things in terms of part of our culture, but we 100% African. I can give you the reason why I say that. If you watch, and this is the first time I watched this Bad Bunny Super Bowl thing, what he did, what I was looking at is for me, that was the blackest Super Bowl performance I've ever seen. Really and truly. It may have been in Spanish, but it was the blackest Super Bowl thing I've ever seen. The guy started off in the cane fields. I could relate to what he started off with in terms of performance. The music was itself is that's reggae music. Bad Buddy making millions and millions of dollars of reggae music. I don't know if the people know that, but that's reggae music, bro. You know, true and true. They call it reggaeton and dembao, but that's reggae music. You know, that's what he's singing at the thing. And a lot of and also too, the fact that he brought all the different flags in terms of the Caribbean and the so-called Latino countries together. You know, there is a culture within Latin culture and English culture is similar. When you see foods that is consistent throughout the Caribbean, from the Latin speaking world to the French speaking world to the English speaking world, a lot of our foods are very the same. We eat plantain, we eat peas and rice. A lot of our chicken dishes are made the same way. The food is very similar, extremely similar. Not only that, the music. The guy Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl, he played a rhythm with goatskin drums. Goatskin drums. I resonate with that when I was watching that. I resonate with that completely. You know, so I'm saying I'm watching African culture on display at the Super Bowl. He may not call it that, but that's exactly what I was watching. You know, and many of the things that he addressed during that Super Bowl event with the power cuts and all these things, I relate to so many different things that man was talking about at that Super Bowl event. I understood. And by the way, they fly the Bahamian flag. I didn't know he was flying the Bahamian flag at that event. But I'm saying that in watching that, I understand.
They fly the Grenadian flag. They fly the Panamanian flag. They fly a lot of black
Absolutely.
Afro-Caribbean flags.
Absolutely. So I'm saying to myself, the African representation is there, and also in Latin cultures, Latins, especially a lot of the Latin people, they say it's Catholic, but many of them worship African gods. Many of them on a spiritual level, they have African gods all throughout their spirituality. By the way, they say they're Catholic, but if you walk into their homes, you would see a representation of many African gods. Many African gods. So I'm saying that I understand why. Well, the mind say that Wallace Latino, but we 100% African people. You know, we are 100% African people. Whatever title you want to label us and language we speak in, the culture is consistent throughout the Caribbean and in America. By the way, the culture is consistent. If you're looking at it, and that's what I was watching during that event. You know, so I understand why he may want to fuse the two. But just as you could say we Latino and the English speaking Caribbean is English, we are African people, brother. And you know, yes, we have different histories, as Unc would say. Yes, we have specifically different histories, but we are very similar, if not the same in terms of culture. Because you know, well, I will just leave it there, and I will just listen to what the brothers have to say about that. I'll leave it there for now.
No, if I could add on to that, that is a very good perspective, and it's something I wanted to talk on the show that we had on Monday. You know, as an icebreaker, because some people weren't happy with the Bad Bunny Super Bowl performance, and me, historically speaking, I kind of understand because the only people that have an issue with the Bad Bunny performance to me are pretty much MAGA and white supremacists. Because let's be real, let's keep it a buck. Back in the day, Super Bowl performance was Garth Brooks, Dixie Chicks, country music. No one didn't say shit. Black people didn't say shit. White people didn't say anything. The moment it started getting funny, I mean, we all know how with the whole Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake thing. But besides that, on wardrobe for pas, it became a problem when it was Kendrick. I loved it with Kendrick. It was beautiful with Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because all the white people got mad. Now it's Bad Bunny. He's up there. And they have a problem with that. What's the problem with that? This is political. The reason him being there is, okay, he's a Grammy Award winner, so let's keep it a buck. He's a Grammy Award winner. He's popular. He's not like a nobody like Kid Rock, because you know the people that was boycotting Super Bowl. What we're gonna do on Charlie Kirk's on network on TPUSA, and we're gonna have our own. We're gonna have Kid Rock and a bunch of nobodies. It was political, and to what my brother Buana was saying, it was beautiful because he had the American flag up there, waving the American flag up there, as well as representing other people. You know what I'm saying? To me, that was the most unified cultural Super Bowl ever. And I don't understand why someone could have an issue with that. Unless
I had
you're
an issue with it because he can't sing. It was bad singing. Even if he can't, he's a good entertainer, but it's, you know what I'm saying, just because somebody did something good doesn't mean they can't be critiqued. And to me, it wasn't the performance was great, but he can't sing. He sound horrible. That was my whole problem with it, that he sound horrible. Everything else might have been okay, but he sound horrible. And nobody can admit that he didn't sound horrible. He sound horrible. He didn't.
As a native New York,
he wasn't on tune. In the
I'll say he got sing.
He wasn't on. It was a great. All right. What I'm saying is this right here. You can have a person that can perform real good, but if they can't sing, then that messes the whole show up for certain people like me. I was looking for at least the sound. He wasn't on tone. The whole thing was just like he was talking. It was no form of singing, or even if he was rapping, he wasn't on tone. It was just, I don't know. It didn't sound good. It looked, I like, you know what I'm saying? I was looking around, it was like the cars and the people dancing and all that. That was nice. But he sound horrible. And nobody in here tell me which one of y'all gonna agree that he didn't sound horrible.
That would be me, because as a native New Yorker,
me too, man. Me too.
I didn't realize all of his songs, but he had like 2 songs. Again, being a New Yorker, you turn on the hip hop station or whatever, they play that at the clubs, and everybody
I'm
was
not
crazy.
talking about the song being popular. I'm talking about him sound, the way he sound. He sound horrible. It wasn't that the way he sound horrible. He wasn't on tune. When he was singing, he was just saying the words to the song.
So you saying he was thinking, or he was just a bad live performer?
Bad live performer. That's what I'm speaking of.
Okay, I got you. I mean, that's fine, but I mean that's fine. That's fair, but I mean, you had other people that had issues with him.
I disagree with that completely, man. That was rocking, man. That shit was rocking.
Fine.
Okay. All right. Hey, that was my issue. It didn't sound good to me. It wasn't even his songs, because I've heard some of the songs, and when he brought Lady Gaga out there, I knew that song, you know what I'm saying? And I knew some of his other songs as well, but it wasn't, he just didn't sound well to me. It was just, that was my whole thing. If somebody don't sound good, I don't like it. But I can't be the one that say that, because he's selling out all these arenas sounding bad like that. So it is what it is.
But that ain't why MAGA was mad about it. And some of the blagger, that ain't why they was mad about him being out there. Me personally, I don't care. I've only watched one Super Bowl halftime show in my life. That was when Usher had Jackson State, the Jackson State University marching band. I've never watched a halftime show. I watch like football.
You ain't even watched the one with Prince, Bakari?
I'm gonna say again, I've watched one. When Jackson State, the Jackson State University Sonic Boom of the South.
I didn't see that, Bakari. I didn't see that one.
That's the only one I've ever watched live. That's the only one I've ever watched live, ever. But I want to tell Unc this. I never said all black people treated Haitians bad. They say if you throw a rock, hit somebody, they holler. But I never said all black people.
You said we as black people.
I didn't say all. I said black people. And if we can't admit that, I ain't gonna get into that.
Some of us, but not all of us.
I never said all.
That's what I said.
My point behind that was their people treated them bad. Haitians said it. My point was, so if they want to ring them in saying unity, but they're gonna use them as the buffer class, and they would be the first Latinos starting being deported, is my point.
Okay.
I will say I didn't pick up on it sounding bad per se, but I will say that if you ever hear the English interpretation of some of them songs, those songs are weak as hell. That song,
I
Say
don't know.
Cheese. Oh man, it's so simple. It's crazy. If he sang that in English, it wouldn't be a hit. Man, good conversation from you guys on this one. In the chat, Trigger Happy says it's like they are seeking unity. Talking about the Latino folks, Latinx, whatever you call them. You see, it's like they are seeking unity, but they are doing it wrong. That's how I would interpret it. Me and Trigger Happy. He says if they were sincere, he says that's how I would interpret it for those who are sincere, but Latino identity should not be the basis of unity. I appreciate those comments from the chat. You guys keep those coming so we could bounce off of some of those thoughts too. If there's no last thoughts on this prompt, let's go to a little bit more, I guess you could say, deeper prompt in Shoot the Breeze. Topic number 3. Shoot the Breeze. I don't know. I'm having all kind of problems tonight on this end. Shoot the Breeze. Topic number 3 says, what do the Epstein files say about Western morality? This came with a link that I think is going to take us to Twitter again. Let me make sure you guys can see my screen. Is tonight. I don't know what's going on, but you guys should be able to see my screen now, right? This is a tweet from Jackson Hinkle with the American flag in it. It says breaking: China mocks U.S. over Epstein humiliation. I'll play it, and it's about a minute and a half. I have to play it twice.
So thousands of videos in order from Congress, and what have we learned? Well, Democrats accused the Attorney General of a cover-up. The Attorney General calls a senior congressman a washed-up loser lawyer. Victims sit in the room watching their accusers' names blacked out, while their own names, their photographs, their suffering are leaked to the public. Welcome to accountability, Western style. For years, they lecture other countries on human rights, on fair courts, on the worth of every person. They send diplomats to lecture former colonies about the rule of law, as if that law were a custom-made suit only for a rich man. So here's the uncomfortable truth the West does not want to face: the Epstein guard scan of the whole system. The courts, the banks, the politicians, even some academic institutions. Not evil in some movie sense, silent partners in real world sense. Silent through doing nothing, through convenient forgetfulness, through the quiet belief that some men are too powerful to ever be brought down. And yet these same institutions continue to grade the rest of the world on human rights, continue to issue report cards on judicial reform, continue to act as if they're the world's moral judge. The lease on that high ground has run out. It ran out in Florida courthouse in 2008. It ran out on the private Caribbean island with the Harvard professor as a guest. It ran out this month on the live television when the victim had to watch her abuser's name being blacked out while her own name staying in plain sight. The Western elites wanted to be judged by their good intentions. Unfortunately for them, the Epstein files contain only the facts.
Did that play well for you guys? Did that play clean?
Can you run it back one more time?
All right.
So the Epstein files are out, millions of pages, thousands of videos in order from Congress. And what have we learned? Well, Democrats accused the Attorney General of a cover-up. The Attorney General calls a senior congressman a washed-up loser lawyer. Victims sit in the room watching their accusers' names blacked out, while their own names, their photographs, their suffering are leaked to the public. Welcome to accountability, Western style. For years, the Western elites, the Western men, have stood on what they call the moral high ground. They lecture other countries on human rights, on fair courts, on the worth of every person. They send diplomats to lecture former colonies about the rule of law, as if that law were a custom-made suit only for a rich man. So here's the uncomfortable truth the West does not want to face. The Epstein archive is not just one file on one criminal. It is a CT scan of the whole system, the courts, the bank, silent partners in real world sense, silent through doing nothing, through convenient forgetfulness, through the quiet belief that some men are too powerful to ever be brought down. And yet these same institutions continue to grade the rest of the world on human rights, continue to issue report cards on judicial reform, continue to act as if they're the world's moral judge. The lease on that high ground has run out. It ran out in Florida courthouse in 2008. It ran out on the private Caribbean island with the Harvard professor as a guest. It ran out this month on the live television when the victim had to watch her abuser's name being blacked out while her own name staying in plain sight. The Western elites wanted to be judged by their good intentions. Unfortunately for them, the Epstein files contain only the facts.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Shout out to Nelly, and shout out to Daily Affirmations by Pauline for joining us tonight. The Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, what do the Epstein files say about Western morality? Lot of Slaughter says, them files tell the hidden truth of who these people in America really are. And yet they come around preaching, finger wagging, telling you what's the right thing to do. It's very interesting. Buana, let me start with you this time. Buana, what say you to this?
I actually love the Epstein files. I love the Epstein files. The Epstein files is killing this idea of whiteness being the epitome of humanity. And the reason why I say that is, in the Epstein files, you have the people who they would call elite. You know, the people with all the money, the people who all these other groups of people aspire to one day be. Aspire to one day be. All of them. Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all the important people, white European males of the society. The people who, some people drool in the mouth to get next to. You see and witness these people being involved within the lowest of the lowest degenerate behavior. One of the guys say, I enjoyed that torture video. When are we going to participate in these kinds of things again? We are killing this idea. The Epstein files is killing these ideas of whiteness. The president is mentioned more than anyone. So if this is the height of what human beings is supposed to aspire to, just consider that. So this gives the rest of the world, other groups of people, have the ability to take a breath and say, okay, now I could be myself, because I definitely don't want to be them. What is it in having $1 billion and being a PDF and torturing young girls or young boys? Yeah, I mean, because I'm sure that's in the Epstein files as well. The prince, the guy in the monarchy, I forget his name now. He was arrested this week.
Prince Andrew.
Andrew, he was arrested this week. You know, he had a picture with a girl on the ground who apparently she seemed to be unalived. These are the people who people been singing to, praising and worshiping, trying to die to get into their circles. And now the world is seeing these people for the first time in terms of who they really are. And if you want to be that, if you want to give up all who you are to be that, then you get what they get. You get what they get. The president of the United States right now, he is rotting. He's rotting in the face of everyone. Look at his hands. He's rotting. He's melting. He's melting. You know. So I am glad that the people who aspire to get close to this is seeing for the first time who these people are in front view of the whole world now. Now, what will be their excuse? What will be their excuse in trying to get closer to whiteness, especially white maleness? But that's what I think about this particular thing. I love the Epstein files.
All right, Buena. Trigger Happy took my thought in the chat. Trigger Happy says the Epstein files expose what would have been an average day on the plantation or in a colony from back in the day. And I agree with that, because dog, if you're doing this now, imagine what you were doing when there was no record, no way to capture what was going on. So it just tells us, it gives us a good idea who these people are and who they've always been. So I appreciate that comment, Trigger Happy. Greetings to Provide Triggers for Evolution. Greetings to Sister Raw, who's out there as well. Thank you guys for coming through. Let me go down to Kofi. Kofi, what say you to Shooter Breeze topic number 3? What do the Epstein files say about the Western quote-unquote morality?
Juana did a bang-up job. I love that perspective. I really, truly love that perspective. That is, and Provide Triggers and Trigger Happy too. That is a very good outlook. So what I can only add to that when it comes to American morality, the Chinese are right, because remember, America is a colonial power, right? They think they're the world police, and they think they're the standard of morality. Peace, rest in power to Jesse Jackson and Martin Luther King and all these people that show the hypocrisy of what America says they are, but what they're not. So we always return on media, especially return on Fox Media. Oh, the Chinese are communists. The Chinese are this. The Chinese, you don't have freedoms like you do here in the U.S. of A, because you can only have a certain amount of kids. And if you're in China, and you can't do this in China and this in China, and we're better because we're a democratic republic. So of course, just like in the 60s and the civil rights, you want to do global business with all types of people, but look how you're treating your black citizens, right? So the same thing is happening. America was never the standard of morality. Never. Shout out to the ancestors, to the Black Americans that here that exposed that. America's conscience was Black Americans. White people in its totality in America never had a conscience. So when it's time to expose them for who they are, yes, I'm glad. You know what I'm saying? I am absolutely glad that China's doing that. You know what I'm saying? China needs to do that. The rest of Africa needs to do that. The Caribbean needs to do that. That's why I love Cesar Chavez. If you guys remember years back when Cesar Chavez was alive, I don't know if it was Obama's first term or second term, and the whole Venezuela thing, and he's chastising Venezuela and this, that, Venezuela, and they're doing a dick measuring contest. And Cesar Chavez just simply says, I'm paraphrasing here, okay, you want to talk about how I'm a dictator and stuff like that. You're in America and your own black people are having issues and having troubles since slavery. Worry about your own people. You're a black president and you're not doing anything for black people. Oh my God, I was a fan of Cesar Chavez after that. And that shut Obama the fuck up. Because guess what? You're concerned about international policy, but you got a shit domestic policy when it comes to your own people. Mind your fucking business. But the Epstein files is so despicable and disgusting. Like they had some of Donald Trump. Donald Trump. There's a girl there. The name was not redacted, and they're trying to bury Donald Trump. I think the girl was like 16 or 15. He was forcing her to have oral sex with Donald Trump. And she bit his little mushroom. And he got so mad, they were laughing and stuff like that. He slapped her. He hit her. All of this is in these files. Even though Trump is on Air Force One saying, I've been exonerated, the Epstein files exonerated because Michael Wolff and all these people say they did it, and Epstein, they say they didn't like me, so all of a sudden, that means I'm exonerated, which is bullshit. I also found out that Epstein had, so you had Mar-a-Lago, you had Epstein Island, and he also owned a property in Arizona, which is, I've heard there was way more dirt going on in that property in Arizona, to the point where right now, one of these MAGA idiots that they have, some senator, some MAGA guy bought. So there's an investigation on the Epstein files and everything that Epstein touched, all his property and everything. This guy bought this property and he's tearing it down to make it a Christian center or whatever. So basically what they're doing, they're allowing evidence to be erased. This place was so horrible. They said it was that murder was happening there. They said there's bodies. There's bodies there. This is like 2007, 2008. They said there's bodies buried there. Like there's
Kofi, did they check for bodies at Epstein Island? Because I'm sure the bodies there as well. I'm sure.
Because Pam Bonnie's probably, is covering up for it. Saying that the whole DOJ is covering up for it. So, but I've heard that this place in Arizona that Epstein was living in, I think since like 2001 or 3, he's been there for like years. And they said all types sex trafficking was going there, torture was going there, say even murder was going on there. They got like some bodies buried there. So, without being long-winded, on what Juana said and everything, this is happening in slavery, and there's just a lot more to be exposed. America was never a moral country, and I'm just here with my popcorn, just seeing it all unfold. It all needs to come out, and I pretty much yield the mic from there.
Appreciate that, Kofi. Yeah, it's crazy. These guys go to Africa and strong arm them to accept homosexuality and all this old shit and try to demonize the Africans' take on it. Yet look what these guys got going on right here. And it's not just everyday people, it's these so-called muckamucks, the higher ups who are doing this stuff. It's really interesting. And I think the message in that video is important. Stop accepting these guys finger wagging you in your countries and whatnot, and start telling them about this shit too. Hey man, you can't come here and talk to me about that. Where's the bodies? Where's the bodies, man? Where's the children? But I digress. Brother Bakari, what say you?
Okay. First, I want to say this. I heard Bawana say PDF. I see people on TikTok say YT people. Can we at least ban the N-word then? Now I'm gonna get into what I'm gonna say. God damn it. This country ain't never been moral. And even the Chinese people, whoever want to come out and talk about them, they have all tried to be like them. I don't know if they have a Zilli Zhang file in China or not, but if you look at how they built their societies and everything that they've done, they try to be like white folk. But this country has forever been morally bankrupt, right? And the Epstein files, and they love these, I guess it's certain words you can't say on here. PDF. I really don't like doing that because don't nobody, they still say what they're gonna say about us, the N-word. But anyway, we can say that is something they've been doing, right? If you look up NAMBLA, just look up NAMBLA, the North American Man Boy Love Association, something to that effect. It's been around since the 60s. It's still around in 2026. Go look and see all the power you could see, and it was made sure politicians and everything has been a part of it since its inception. It may have been around before the 60s, and it's still here today. Since its inception, politicians and rich folk, they have always been a part of it. So this doesn't surprise me, but if they're going to be the party of family values and morals, and if this country going to be the country of family values and morals, what all of this stuff needs to be exposed. The whole regime is probably in the Epstein files. So these type of people shouldn't be in charge, especially in charge of us. No, regardless, they shouldn't be in charge of us. But this just shows what America is. But showing what America is also showing what America has always been. What it has always been. It's always been this way. It's not going to change. They have no morals. How could they ever convince the world? See, this lets you know how the world felt about black people, right? You can convince the world you moral while you burn black churches, while you kill black babies, while you still lynching black people, but you can convince the world that you are moral. That goes to show the reason the world is mad is because these are little white girls. These are little white girls these pedophiles is messing over. That's why the world is mad. Because the world never got this mad when they was doing this to us. And I heard Kofi say he loved somebody for what they said about Obama. Somebody doing it to your people. You can't say he just doing it to your people when everybody's just claiming to be American. So he's allowing it to happen to Americans. Don't just single out one person, all of them. If you claiming to be this American and you love this damn country, everybody who have set up in that damn thing called the White House have allowed it to happen. And they can convince the world that they were moral because nobody gave a damn about African people. Now they give a damn about little white girls getting screwed over. If those was just little black girls, they wouldn't give a damn. But fortunately, this one we were out of because they ain't want no black girls over there. I yield the mic.
Brother Kai, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Also, I appreciated something you said earlier in that comment, which is if we gotta abbreviate certain terminologies or can't use straight up certain wording, then we shouldn't say the N-word too. This is just a side note, so bear with me for a second. But I saw a video this week on Twitter of the streamer Kai Cenat. And one of his people was on screen and referred to one of the other guys as, and I have to do it, as the F word. You know, the gay slur. And Kai Cenat got immediately upset, told everyone get out, get off screen, and he finishes telling everyone to get out, get off screen by saying the N-word. And I'm like, wow, you have to be careful what you say, but you can say the N-word all day. You know? So yeah, thanks for that, Brother Bakari. Last but not least, man, there's been some nice comments in the chat. Trigger Happy says Idi Amin's son said they used this stuff as blackmail to provide triggers. Earlier had said Robert Mugabe mentioned 31 times, including correspondence suggesting that Epstein and his associates considered approaching Mugabe to create a new currency in Zimbabwe. She mentions Jacob Zuma, former South African president. His name appears 87 times in the documents. Ah, man. Wild stuff. She provided triggers earlier said it's a dangerous thing that the African educated elite wants to emulate these white folks. It is my understanding that some African leaders are implicated too in the Epstein files. That's real interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Forecast Radio says they put pedos on the side of a mountain. This is their culture. I appreciate that forecast. Black Seal, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to all of it?
Well, I agree with everyone's points, really. All that I could really add is that it's so interesting. If everybody remembers a couple of years ago, Pizzagate, right? This whole thing about the children being molested in the basement of a pizza parlor in DC, right? And the pizza parlor didn't have a basement. Or whenever you have these white people talking about, oh, we're going to stop the trans people from breeding the kids, and they want to bring weapons into, to fight the people from, the trans people breeding kids at Story Hour or whatnot. But yet, these Epstein files reveal that we are governed by a class of PDF files. I'm not trying to get the show banned, right? And they're in all levels of government, and they're being protected by the Department of Justice and everything else, right? Where's the angry armed white men who were so focused on bringing the Epstein files to light? In fact, part of the reason they elected Trump was because he was going to release the Epstein files. So now they released the files, and we know that who's in them. Where are all these heavily armed white militias who want to protect the children? Why aren't they storming the halls of Congress again, right, to arrest these PDF files? Why aren't they going after Bill Gates and all these multi-billionaires who were on the island or who want to be on the island? These rich, powerful, sick white men sleep well at night. And the so-called white people who were so focused on protecting the children, they're at home doing nothing. They had picked up an AR-15, they go look for some kids in a pizza parlor, but you know who's doing the raping and the killing, and you're sitting at home with your dick in your hand. Okay? To me, it shows not only the hypocrisy of America's government, but also the hypocrisy of America's populace, meaning they're white populace, the majority of this country. Again, to everyone's point, there's never been a problem with raping black children, right? They used to have a whole term for them. In New Orleans, they called them fancy gals, right? They would literally raise black chick girls from a young age to sexually please white men. And they were advertised for that. And they were priced at a higher cost than the other slaves. So now they can't legally enslave people anymore.
That's separate. Was that happening on the breeding farms, or is that something separate?
Yeah, in the breeding farm and in New Orleans, so they call them fancy girls. And it was really a big thing down in New Orleans too. But like to your point, they have breeding farms. They have little farms of black people being bred like livestock. We have pedophiles on the currency, pedophiles on Mount Rushmore. So this urge of Europeans to rape and molest children hasn't gone anywhere. So they're saying that the Epstein was an agent of the Mossad, the Israeli Secret Service, right? And he was using this desire for them to rape children as a way to blackmail powerful elites in Western governments. And he really didn't have no blackmail because once it was exposed, nobody's doing shit about it. Even the Department of Justice has said that none of the information is actionable. They can't arrest and lock up anybody. In fact, they've redacted the names, like the man said in the video. The names of the perpetrators are hidden. The names of the victims are for everyone to see. So this says not just about the morality of America's government, but its people. It was never about protecting children. It was always about hurting and brutalizing people who were considered to be weaker than them. And at this point, and now that Trump is president, right, there's no more pretense of morality. There's no more pretense of America being the shining city on a hill to guide the people, the white man's burden, so to speak, right? That's no longer a thing. Now it's just full, butt naked, in your face imperialism. All right, so this is what we have to contend with. All right, those are my thoughts. I'll go ahead and I'll pass the mic. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Lot of Slaughter in the chat says, that's why I refuse to claim this place as my home, because I'm not part of anything they do. And I respect that 100%. But Provide Triggers for Evolution asks a question. So I'll use it as the follow-up for this prompt. She says, question to the panel. What is the remedy to this situation that we are in pertinent to these cancerous global elites who are so psychotic but yet enormous influence? So, it's one thing to talk about it, which I think Provide Triggers is making a good point here. One thing to talk about it. What's the solution, though? How are we to insulate ourselves from this type of activity? Anyone could answer in any order.
We have to get together, want to get together. We have to build. And what I mean by build and get together is not sitting here, not just being on YouTube. We have to want to meet. We have to want to organize first. Once we organize, we have to strategize and build. And where we are building and what we are doing shouldn't be on social media. We know what we are doing, and that's part of the way that we can start to insulate ourselves. People, we're going to have to put our money together. We're going to have to set aside, like for me, FBA and an African, all that argument is done for me, right? So anybody who's still in those arguments, anybody who's still, it is certain things that we're going to have to say we're not going to allow. We have to sit together and make the rules. And we have to live by the rules in which we make. And some of our people may not want to be there and may want to help from the outside, which is cool. But that's the first thing, organize. So we're going to organize because we're going to be willing to meet. And once we organize, then you strategize. That's where you're uniting and you're building and everything is going to come from. But we ain't going to show them what we're doing and where we're at all on social media. Part of the reason so we don't get the backlash from our own people. But those are some of the things, for me, as I see, those are some of the things that we would have to do, because those are some of the things that I've seen done. I yield the mic.
I have an idea in terms of well, let me just take it to the United States, because because I agree with Brother Bakari. Organization is key. I agree with that. Earlier this week, I was watching a interview by Jay Morrison. I don't know if the brothers know who Jay Morrison is, but he created a fund in terms of collectively getting Black people together to invest in a fund for money. Now, he had a decision. He could have bought a town and developed a town where Black people could get together, and his idea was to create another Black Wall Street or create a fund. His idea was to create a fund. I would think it would be a good thing to buy up a town and Black folks who wanted to invest, because Brother Bakari is talking about insulating yourself. So if you buy a town where you control the police, you control all the electricity, the water, all these kinds of other things, the essential services, the hospitals and things of that nature, because you could buy towns. I didn't know that in America. You could actually buy towns. So if you could collectively get together, and I think Jay Morrison had about $12 million, the town itself costs like what, $3 million, something like that. I think that these kinds of things on a small basis is feasible. On a small basis, where you're talking about maybe to 100 to 1,000 people. On a larger level, I understand that you live in America, you live under a situation. So some people decide to take it to the vote. Some Black people decide to do that. And then you vote in people like Mamdani. I know this ain't an answer for everyone, Brother Bakari. It ain't an answer for everyone. But you vote in people like Mamdani, who he seemed to be anti-elitist. So you try to get representatives in there who are anti-elitist. Shout out to Jesse Jackson, by the way, for his passing. But you try to get in people involved in the politics who are anti-elitist to maybe represent you better. That's another way.
Moana, real quick, before I go into this dead zone. How about Mom Donnie's mom? They got a picture of Mom Donnie's mom with Epstein.
That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But another thing too is, the two last thing I would say is you do like the AES. Do like the AES. Do like the AES. You remove the people completely out of office. Now that's talking about coups and things like that. I could take a special kind of group of people. Because these Caribbean islands, we need some of that here as well. So that's another solution. And the last solution I would say, and maybe most improbable, is by a bullet. So talk like that. Talk like that in terms of getting released. The brother not brother, but the guy who unalived the insurance CEO, he felt like, well, these elite guys in these CEO positions determine who live and dies. And he decided to take them out in his own hands. So you have several different kind of solutions to the problem. So the people have to decide which way they want to go in terms of these elitists controlling and oppressing people. You have to determine that. By the way, Black Seal, I did not know that Mamdani's mother was mixed up in the Epstein business, but he was a psyop though. He was trying to connect with everyone to really compromise a whole lot of people. But that's a whole other discussion. But that's my solutions. Provide triggers. I don't know if I answered your question good. So.
All right. Before we move on to the next prompt, if no one has anything else left to say, well, first to address what Brother Bakari said, I agree we have to meet up, and we can't do all this stuff in the wide open public. So join the Discord. I promise you, I'm going to put up a prompt about it. Just to get a general idea where we are, Northeast, Midwest, down south. Let's get an idea where folks are, and let's try to create like a buddy type of thing with those who's close. I know me and Kofi are close by. I should link with him, for example, and ultimately link with Bakari and stuff like that, and ultimately link with Bonnie from the same place I'm from. So yeah, I'll definitely start something on the Discord about it. And if I don't do it within a week's time, someone please remind me. But we need to come together. We need to discuss ideas, not just discuss ideas. We need to actually carry out actions when we link with one another in person. So that's something to keep in mind. And the same is extended to all you guys in the chat. If you're not on the Discord, click the link, join the Discord. Let's try to meet up before this year ends out. Real quick before we go on to the next prompt, though, I was really proud of this week. The Forecast from the Forecast Radio has authored a book. It's on Amazon in Kindle form right now. I'm waiting for the hardback release to come out because I really don't read from a Kindle anymore. But if you do, make sure to go and support him today. The title is, I should have screenshot and had the link ready. I'm sorry I didn't. But the title is The History of Racism, A Guide to White Supremacy. Like he says here, it's only an ebook. The hardcover is next week. So I'll be getting it next week. If you can, just screenshot the screen right now so you can remember the name of the book. But kudos to Forecast for doing that. I remember when he did his Black History segments on his podcast. And look, now he has something tangible that you could support him. You could support him behind it. So make sure pick up your copy. The History of Racism, A Guide to White Supremacy. Man. Shout out to Forecast for that.
It's not scripture, Forecast. Forecast, if you're still out there, it's not scripture. Y'all might not get it, but he'll get it.
Forecast. I hope AI write this book. If I buy this book, I hope AI write this.
Hey, Forecast, I'm gonna get the hard copy. I need it on audiobook because I read my books while I'm at work, man. Because I drive for a living and I listen to a lot of books. So, but I'm gonna get the hard copy, get it on audiobook. And I'm going to read it and see if, look at it, he's some of the real scripture. It's not scripture.
Man, good stuff, man. But again, kudos to Forecast, man. I like that. I like when the brothers and sisters actually produce something tangible from their efforts. So, make sure you guys support that. Forecast says thanks to everyone. Let's go right into a doozy of a topic here. But some of you probably saw this, especially if you follow me on Twitter. By the way, follow me on Twitter if you haven't. It's right there on the screen. Should read topic number 4. It says Zionism in Africa. Land is being bought in Africa for the purposes of Zionist interests. How will this turn out? This comes with several links, as a matter of fact. So we're going to work our way through them. Let me share my screen with you guys. Here's the first one. Make sure you guys can see it. Okay. Computer moving a little slow, but I think you guys can see my screen now. So the first tweet is from Neo Republic ZA. It says, attention, Israel is taking over the Western Cape. This comes with a video. We'll watch it and we'll discuss.
Yeah, look, I'm here in Houghton. You can see, if you see here, you can come closer. You will notice that this is how Israel and Palestine fence has been built. This is a fence that has been built, and you can see the electric fence. Within there is a barbed wire. There is a barbed there. You see their cameras. They are looking what is happening here. If you check at the back where I'm standing, you will see that there is a mountain. You see, this is a mountain. Grew up in this area. You can check here. You can check the ocean. Now they do not have an access to the mountain anymore. These children do not have an access to the mountain. I mean, they say a rich Zionist guy bought this land. I mean, guys, if you think what is happening in Gaza, in Palestine is far, it's happening right now in South Africa. It's happening. This is happening. Exactly, this is Gaza. This is how Gaza is dividing Israel and the people of Palestine. It's happening now in South Africa under the DA government, under the DA watch, under the ANC government. It's happening in the Western Cape. So when we say to you, Israel is in charge in the Western, we are not talking stories, or we're not making fairy tales. We are speaking reality. This is happening. As you can see, just come closer. You can see the cameras there on top. You can see for yourself. So wake up before it's too late. Thank you very much.
So that's the first attachment. The next attachment also takes us to X. This is from, what's that? Saint Letzi. It says, South Africa must stop mollycoddling Zionist filth in this country. The Cape Independence Project is an Israeli-sponsored project that is spearheaded by Zionist Jews living here. Zionist rubbish at Grant Gochin said the quiet part out loud. Zionist Jews, the scum of humanity, entertains the idea of fragmenting Africa. Israel has recognized Somaliland, which is part of Somalia, and wants to occupy Kenya and break it apart, at the same time sponsoring the fantasy of a Cape independence. It is time that we ban all Zionist organizations and proscribe them terrorist organizations. Zionist Jews are a threat to national security everywhere they exist. So this is from the Times of Israel. It says South Africa fragment first. South Africa represents the most urgent and compelling case. Under the African National Congress, the ANC, the country has collapsed into one of the world's worst examples of governance, or rather, not governance at all, but systemic extractive plunder designed to enrich the party's leadership. Every component of government is effectively for sale, including and especially foreign policy, which has been aligned with Iran through deepening military ties, such as participation in joint BRICS naval exercises involving Iranian vessels and high-level defense visits. The ANC has stolen and sold whatever it could from the nation. Okay, so that's the second attachment. The third attachment is a video that what you call it, retweeted a couple of times this week, and I wrote as Israel wants to create a community in Solai of Israel teenagers and Kenyan teenagers.
And the quiet place, it is also a place where we dream to bring from Israel, where we based from, where we came from, 15 years ago to Kenya. We want to bring the dream of a community between Israeli teenager and Kenyan teenager. So in Israel, we have a school that's called Londoners. And we want to open here another branch of the school for Kenyan people. So an Israeli will come to visit here. So we will create a community of knowledge, information, and friends between Israel country and Kenya. View of Lake Solai and the quiet place, it is also a place where we dream to bring from Israel, where we based from, where we came from, 15 years ago to Kenya. We want to bring the dream of a community. So in Israel, we have a school that's called Londoners, and we want to hope that the Kenyan people will come to visit Israel, and Israeli will come to knowledge, information, and friends between Israel country.
Now that I watched that video, I feel like the interviewer isn't rolling with what my man's saying here at all. There's one more attachment. Let me see if it loaded. Let's share this tab. Looks like I'm having some connection or connectivity issues. This is from Marion. Has a timeline here. It says in 2017, Netanyahu visits Kenya. 2018, Solai Dam tragedy, hundreds displaced. 2020 to 2021, Israel plans on creating a state of Israel in Kenya. 2026, Israel opens up a kibbutz in Solai. Nothing is a coincidence, people. We're about to be the next freedom fighters, right? And that's Bibi in the picture of that article. Man, it looked like we had a mass exodus of panelists now. So it's now me and Buana. But Buana, what are your thoughts on what we're seeing with the Zionism in Africa, the obvious Zionism going on in Africa?
Coco, I don't know when the African people are gonna learn. I personally don't know. I don't know when we gonna learn, because South Africa, I think that the president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, not Jacob Zuma, at this time, but he was the one of the guys who was at the forefront of issuing um a arrest for the leader of Israel in terms of crimes against humanity. He was the very one. So I'm asking, how is it now that they are permitting and allowing these people to come into your country and create zones where where uh, where South African people are not freely able to move around and walk around. I am very familiar with this, because in the country right here you have some goofball leadership who's created the same kind of situation here. So I'm very familiar with that. I'm saying, when are you gonna learn? The boys do it. Now you're inviting the Zionists to come in to do it to your country. When are you gonna learn? When are you gonna, and why are the people keep continuously electing leadership in Africa, in South Africa in particular, where you have these oppressive regimes, small minorities of people coming into your country to dominate you? Why do you continuously elect and re-elect political parties that do that to you all the time? Nelson Mandela did a disservice. He did a complete disservice to the people of South Africa with this rainbow nation nonsense. He did a disservice to the people, in particular to the black people, where even though the political parties may have changed, but the wealth and the land access remain the same to this day. And it seemed like the black South African has decided, well, rainbowness and multiculturalism is the way to go. So we're not gonna say nothing, because we won't be a part of this so-called middle white class. We won't be inclusive. So we're gonna stick our heads into the sand and not pay attention to everything that's going on around us, in particular wealth extraction. And now it's land exclusion. And land is the basis of wealth. They don't seem to get that. They think that having a high salary is a way to get wealth. But I asked the question, what was the Africans doing prior to the Europeans coming there? Obviously, they had the ability to have arable land or farmable land to produce their own crops. Obviously, they had the ability to manage their own animals, where you don't have to survive on a paycheck, because there was enough land for everyone. But the Europeans come in with their exclusive nature and say, well, this part of the area belongs to us, even though we represent a minority of the people. Now you're inviting Zionists in because you believe and have this idea these are the chosen people, so they're gonna choose a piece of your land and exclude you from it. When are they gonna learn? The Kenyans is another situation going on, because I hear things about Kenya, and I hear well, I don't want to carry gossip, but how the women are very partial to European men. And it's like the leadership in these countries just permitting these things to happen in the country. And the sister just asked the question, what should be done about these kinds of things? Well, you need an upsetter. You need an upsetter. You need someone to come in there and upset the table, the apple cart. The South Africans didn't want to listen to Malema with the EEF. They didn't want to listen to other Black consciousness organizations. In Kenya, you don't want to listen. Well, Jomo Kenyatta eventually betrayed his people there. And his son is currently doing it, obviously, here. But when are you going to learn? When are you going to learn? You want to have another 300 years of captivity and oppression and just being a slave to borrowing money from European powers? There's going to come a time when the world is going to just, just clap their hands and be done with you. Because we don't want to hear y'all moan of oppression anymore. There's going to come a time for that. Because if you are not willing to do it for yourself, why do you think someone is going to come in to do it for you? If you are not willing to do it for yourself, and this is classic. That you think that the Zionists is oppressing the Palestinians in their own homeland. What makes you think that they ain't going to do it to you? because they claim to be your friend. It's ridiculous, man. At this point in human history, with all the access to information, historical and current information that we currently know and realize, to continue on this frame for a couple of dollars, in terms of only the leadership getting a couple of dollars, by the way, to continue in this vein, you deserve what you get. Now that's harsh as a black man saying that to another black man. But if you want to continue in this vein, you deserve the leadership you get. You deserve the leadership you get. That's what I think about this, Coco. I'll leave it there.
But I agree with everything you said, and I'm happy that you ended it off the way you did. This goes back to the Frank Zanu conversation we started the show with. Remember what he said? He said, we are not brothers. He said, I am a man, I'm from this small group of people, and that's my people, right? The rest of y'all aren't anything to me. And that's what's going on in Africa. I hate to say it, but these guys are saying, mind your own business. By the way, we hear that from the so-called FBA ADOS people in America. Mind your own business. Let us deal with our white people, our white folks, and you guys stay out of it. It's just, the matron talks about it all the time. It's this rugged individual nonsense of, well, I'm going to make it. I'm going to cut these deals. I'm going to be enriched. I'll be good in life. I'll be good in the world. My children will be fine. So be it whatever they do. Whatever they come and do, divide the country, take the land, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. And that's the real problem that we have. We don't, I think it was Bono who said it many moons ago. We don't have someone with the big stick who can go around on this continent of ours and really crack some heads open. These people know what's coming. You think they don't know history? They know the history. They see what these people are doing right now, currently. They know what's coming. They know that children are going to get trafficked, like Trigger mentioned in the chat. This guy is talking about your teenagers and our teenagers could hang out together. What for? They know what's coming. They know that they're going to give, these people bought this land, probably paid a good little price to certain individuals in the government. They bought this land. They're going to one day get to the point they're going to expand on that territory. And next thing you know, Kenya will be divided in north and south. For some reason, they like dividing African countries in north and south, by the way. Right? They know what's coming. But these guys are saying that's those people's problem later down the road. Right now, I'm good. I'm good. My children and stuff, they're going to be good. That's those problems. I have a prompt that I put up. I didn't put it up yet. What we gonna be talking about? Sorry about this, Trigger. What we gonna be talking about? Some of those Ghanaian families who was heavy in dealing Africans to these Europeans during the slave trade, and come to find out, these are some of the major people in government and whatnot. We know what's up. These people know what's up, but these guys are living their life for themselves. They're not checking for no future. They don't care about the other guy. That's not my brother. That's what Frank Zanu said. That's not my brother. And that's a problem we have to really get serious about. In general, where black people are. A lot of Slaughter in the chat says, I don't even want to say nothing. Kenyan leadership does something every year, it seems. Shaking my goddamn head. Sister Cheryl in the chat says, I wish more continental Africans would take their talents and ingenuity back to the homelands instead of making places like the UK and America homes for their future generations. Trigger Happy in the chat says, Kenya honestly has two destinies. If it doesn't take into their their Mau roots, Kenya will turn into an Israeli state, or Kenya will turn into the Dominican Republic because of white male obsession. That goes back to that topic we had last week. You women like these outsiders, and y'all need to crack down on that stuff too. Trigger Happy says there is a connection with the country selling their resources and land with our discussion last week of women in the continent being easy for white men because of white Jesus and the idea of materials. Trigger says the same thing here. Kenyan teenagers, what do they want to do with Kenyan teenagers? Right? It must be human trafficking. There was another comment I saw. Maybe I'll find it later. But in the meantime, let's welcome Sister Cheryl to the panel. Sister Cheryl, how have you been? Haven't seen you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I just been preoccupied, just with family stuff and
Cool.
everything. But everything's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just I'm just looking at this topic and like I'm just thinking about like not just in Kenya, but just in general with people on the continent. And you know, any black people anywhere they are, we all seem to have the same problem. Like we all abandon our neighborhoods, our homelands in favor of being in white places. Like for Black Americans, yeah, you know, America is the white place. But I guess I mean like, you know, I see it because I'm living in the southeast. I'm not going to say exactly where, but you can probably guess. Black people really like to show off in the state that I'm in. So when they make a whole lot of money, they tend to like to go and leave. Their whole objective is I made it if I left. And I see the same thing from continental people in leaving their homelands for America. Like it's literally the same mindset, and the only common denominator there is religion. If we just had that bug out of our head, like if we got rid of that, we could be open to so much more. Nigeria probably would be open to what Troy is doing. I mean, on a mass scale, I'm sure there are some Nigerians in Nigeria that are, you know, about that life, and they're trying to really do something, but it's not enough of them. Um, I, I just see, it's just we're like black people everywhere. We have the same colonial problem no matter where we go. That's why, like, I heard people earlier saying, you know, the FBA thing is stupid. You know, it takes away from us coming together, and that's what you get when you see these type of things like with Israel. Like, but it doesn't matter if it's Israel, it could be Israel, it could be um the Arabs, Persians, whatever you want to call them, it could be Asians. It's the same problem. It's not just Israel, it's all of them. All of them are taking a piece, taking a slice, and we're just like, oh, we got to get away from our own people. That's our thing, you know. And I think someone mentioned earlier, what is the solution to that? I really don't think there's any immediate solution. Um, that's just something that we have to raise our children. Like we literally gotta start from scratch because you can't take people who have already been indoctrinated by religion to that extent on that level. You can't really change them. I think sometimes, and I'm kind of guilty of this sometimes. Like I try to change like people with logic, and you can't when it comes to religion, logic doesn't work. Logic goes right out the window. So that's why I say with this type of issue, it needs to start from scratch. Like we need to start from scratch with our generations, like our children. Um, there's something else I was gonna say. I can't think of it now, but I'm in right there.
Amma, Amma. What if I was to tell you? What if I was to tell you that success is extremely dangerous in the black community? What if I was to tell you that? Like, let me explain that. I don't know if you ever heard of a rapper named Nipsey Hussle, right? He went back to his community, and his community robbed him, murdered him, and killed him, unalived him. I could tell you stories where sometimes some people do stay, and the same people around him, they notice the fact that you're getting a little bit of money, maybe a little bit more than they do, and they will rob you. And I'm not trying to castigate or cast dispersions on my community, But I do know that jealousy exists. I know that crab syndrome exists. I know these kinds of, it's not so. I've heard some rappers talk, and some rappers talk about getting wealth in their communities, and they say, and they have to leave, because if they don't leave, something's gonna happen to them. You know what I mean? So it's I understand the idea of staying and building your community. That is a great thing to do. But sometimes it's a little bit more complicated than that, because sometimes you're not safe. Your family is not safe if you're making a certain amount of money within your community. We talk about money now, I guess. But even success, it's not so easy. And it's not to say that danger doesn't exist in another kind of community as well. But I'm saying that there are some people within your own community who will harm you and hurt you if they see that they feel that you getting a little bit ahead of them in life. You know what I mean? It's You understand what I'm saying, or I'm kind of.
No. I've heard that conversation before. I've heard that before. But also, you got to remember the people who are saying that, they tend to be what? They tend to be very materialistic. They tend to be very showy. And that's the point I was trying to make about the state that I'm currently living in. Um, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to say it, but I want y'all to kind of think about this, because I'm in the South. And in this particular state, Black people tend to have that very same mindset. They tend to be very flashy. They tend to want to show off what they did because it's an accomplishment. It's pretty much just saying, hey, look what I did. Y'all can do it too. You just gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps type of Black people. Um, and they tend to leave their Black communities for these non-Black communities, and their children, they may be quote unquote, because I don't agree with that, but they may be physically safe, but their children are whitewashed like to the fullest extent. And so what's it worth? What's it worth? What's it worth moving to these, other areas? Okay, so I live in Atlanta. Okay, I'm not sure if you ever been to Atlanta. My husband just
Several
said,
times, several times, several times.
my husband said, just don't sugarcoat it. Just say where you're from. But sometimes I like to avoid that because social media and YouTube, whatever.
Shout
But
out to your husband, by the way.
yeah, I was like, guys, just guess. But people are very flashy here, like for no reason, and it's like no, like you could just be having a conversation with people, and no one asks. Like I didn't ask you if you had $100,000 watch. Like we're just having a regular conversation. Oh, that watch is $100,000. Great. That's wasteful. But that's how Black people are here. You cannot be in a Black community, a regular, working class Black community, and all of a sudden you quote unquote make it, and you just start going out and just splurging and doing. Why? This is the problem with choices. It's not always good to have choice because Black people start doing crazy stuff because we oh well, I come from a poor Black town in Georgia, and I made it, so guess what, I'm gonna flash it. And sure, you can do it, but what's the bigger purpose? They don't have a purpose. Their purpose is just money. So
What's wrong with celebrating your success, especially if you come from the
what
slum?
okay, we are the only people that are flashy like that, I will say, because you got you can be successful and be quiet about it. You don't even have to make that much more than people in the area. You can be someone who makes, I'm giving an example. Let's say you make like $100,000 or $200,000 in any given Black community in the inner city. Like if you like the Black communities around Atlanta, they're not making that much money, right? The 100, 200,000, they're not making that. So you don't have to do any of that. You can just go to work, come back home, and enjoy yourself in your house. why is it necessary to be flashy? You know, what are you trying to prove? What is your goal? What is your purpose? And I don't think black people have a purpose. And I notice in other communities, they don't do that. They'll have their little car and they'll do their little thing. They'll mind their own business. They're not trying to be flashy. They just do their own thing and they're a part of their own community that make their money and they celebrate and do all their things in their own community. We want to have a lot of money and go to white areas and celebrate and be flashy and throw stuff in non-black people's face and expect there not to be some type of reaction. And that's the problem. Yeah, because black people who are successful, they think that you don't have to just be in your own community. Like they think it's just I gotta show these other people. I gotta show these other
Nah, nah,
and
Alma,
everybody else
you
is
basically
seeing that.
you basically saying it's cool to rob people who foolish with money. It's cool. It's
It's
okay.
what?
That's what you're telling me. I'm like,
What's okay?
I'm supposed to be safer in my community, even if I am a fool, what you consider to be foolish with my spending habits. I am supposed to be safe enough still to operate within my community, even if I want to buy a stupid $100,000 car. Because
But
if you
guess
say
what?
that I should
No,
stay within
no,
my community and build my community,
no,
why shouldn't I? I should be free to do stupid things as well. You know, you can't rob me because I'm
no.
being flashy.
Lana, come on. That's that's silly. Why would you want to buy like why not be humble? Why not focus on if you're actually focused on your community, you're not thinking about buying no $100,000 car. I'm not thinking about buying no $100,000 car for what? For what? What is the why? Why? And we don't like black people don't like why. We don't like purpose. We just like I can do this thing because I can. And that's the problem.
It's my money though. I should be able to do it by money when I
You
want.
know what, Wanda? You know, Wanda. Why don't you buy me $100,000 car? Go get me. Can you get me 100,000?
hey, hey, you make a good justification why dudes is be getting robbed. Yeah.
Right. Cracking me up, bro.
Oh man.
I'm cracking up. Oh, but seriously, like we joke, but that's seriously the problem. Cause like I don't know, maybe it's just how I was raised. I never, I never thought like I'm gonna take this money. Like sometimes you can take your money, you can treat yourself. There's nothing wrong with treating yourself. But to be flashy is a different thing. I maybe because I didn't grow up in Atlanta. I grew up in Philly. So I'm just not like that. Like I don't care about that stuff. I've never cared about being flashy and showing people what I have. I've never cared about that. If anything, I don't want people to know what I have. But that's just me. But I mean, I understand, and that's a psychological problem that our people have. We think we have to do it because if I show people that I'm doing good, then I want them to be jealous. I want them to have what I have. I want them like we have that sometimes. I see that here a lot in Atlanta. And it's it doesn't serve a purpose for our people, you know? Doesn't mean you can't treat yourself. You can treat yourself on things but why do other people have to know? Like why does social media have to know? Why does it have to be super flashy and all of this? You don't need all of that. You can
But
do
okay,
what you
Alma.
want for
Okay.
yourself without
Okay, Alma. So when I hear the young fellas talk, right? They say that the reason why they get into the drug dealing and the pimping game is because they look at the poor community and where they come from. And the only people who seem to have success was the guys driving with the big cars and the flashy clothes and things like that. So they decide, well, I need to do what they did to get the things that they have because that's the level in their minds. That's the level of their success. But if they also see a man who goes to work and is working 24 hours, well, not 80 hours out of the week, but he's earned his success. He ain't doing nothing criminal. He's doing nothing criminal, but he's earned his success. He's doing nothing illegal. Maybe a young kid might look at that and aspire to work the same kind of work, do the same kind of habits, and then build his community in that way and manner. I'm thinking that it's two different kind of storylines going on. So because I'm listening to what the young people say, what they are attracted to, and if you come from a community that lacks, doesn't have a lot of things, These are the kinds of things that draws the attention to many young people. Maybe not everyone, but to some young people. But if I attach that success, so-called success or material success, to hard work and nothing illegal, then it does have a purpose. Because the purpose is I'm showing the younger generation you don't have to engage in illegal activities to acquire these kinds of things and live in the same community where you come from. You could do it this way. What do you say to that?
Well, I think for any people who are, and this goes anywhere, not just in America, like even because that's the reason why a lot of continental people come to America, right? Because they may have lived in a really, really bad condition and they want to come to a place where it's quote unquote successful. And mind you, everyone defines success. It, I would say, how do you define success? Because um, success should be measured by how we uplift our community, not by the flashy things that we buy and the ways that we show them off to people. And I think we kind of get lost in that as a as a people. Um, you're never gonna see a white man walking down the street with a big gold chain and a big clock around his neck. And you see what I'm saying? You're never going to see that type of flashiness from the palm colored people because this is their nation. It doesn't matter if they're poor or not. They succeeded because this is their nation. You see what I'm saying? Success is defined very differently for different people. So and also you said, I forget what you said. You said how do you how does a person who comes from, I can't remember what you said. You made a comparison.
I can't remember. If you're coming from the slums,
Yeah, versus a person coming from the slums versus a person who works hard for his success. I think you were saying something
what
about.
I said is that the young people sometimes they look at the when I hear their stories and when I hear them speak, they said that the reason why they got into illegal activities is because when they looked within their poor community, they saw the only people who had some level of success was the people who was the pimps, the people who was the robbers, the people who was the dope dealers. And I'm saying that there's other people, if there existed other people within that community who are hardworking people, they work, very, very hard. They master their craft and skill set, and they was able to achieve a level of so-called quote unquote material success. They drove the nice cars. They had the nice ladies on their arm. Then there would be the aspiration would be different. The young people wouldn't only aspire to be the working with the kind of criminal kind of situation to get money. They would look at in terms of success. They would say, well, if this guy could make it and he works very hard and he is able to achieve the same things, I don't have to engage in criminal behavior. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't think. I think it's easy. It's easier to do. Remember, you said look at this generation today. Well, this generation is. I mean, not just this generation. A lot of our generations have been stuck on television, the glamour, the propaganda, where we are socialized to believe that fast money is good money. So that's that. I mean, if I could get it fast, why would I get it slow? You know, like I mean that's just how that's just how like we've been conditioned to think. Um, so I'm not sure to go with that. Like, and even in what you're defining as success, with that with the having a girl in your arm and having a flash car, like that's a particular type of success that you're talking about. But the type of success that we should be focused on is the success that brings all of us up. That's individual success. We're talking about collective success, and we're not collective. America isn't a collective country. Like it's not collective. We always think about how can we one up the other person. And that's why I was talking. That's why I made Atlanta an example because everyone's trying to one up everyone else. No one cares about collective success. We only care about individuals.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, and that goes to the point of the prompt, which is these different groups of our people on the continent will sell land. They'll bring in the obvious invaders. They'll do all that because hey, I'm successful. My family is doing good, right? And this is our problem right now. So that conversation, that back and forth you and Buana had is good. But we shouldn't forget to relate it back to the problem. One of the things Buana mentioned is the people who will tend to do, illegal things in the community, right? Again, they're doing that at the expense of the people in the community. It causes harm in the community. They don't care because why? I'm doing good. I could flash $100,000 watch, right? I could flash a whatever car. And that's the thing, for a long time I've been talking about this. I remember the matrons were talking about this a lot. That's that shit we got to get off of. We got to get off of this idea of being flashy and flashing success to the people around us at the expense, oftentimes, of the people around us. That's what these folks are doing in the continent, selling land to obviously the people you shouldn't be selling land to. But Black Steel came out. Black Steel saved all of it.
Man. It's very interesting that Kenya and South Africa were mentioned first because as we recall, it was South Africa that charged Israel with genocide, right? It was South Africa that led the charge in the International Court of Justice against Israel's violence against the Palestinians and called it a genocide. This is payback, right? Them sponsoring a movement in the Cape for Independence, a Cape Independence movement. This is definitely payback for them doing that. As you remember, we talked about before, it was Israel that helped finance South Africa's nuclear weapons program. They had 5 nuclear warheads that they were using to basically keep the continent hostage. It was also Israel that helped pay for and finance South Africa's biological weapons program because they wanted to create a virus or disease that would only kill Black people, and basically to eliminate the Black population of South Africa, with the hopes that Israel could turn around and reverse engineer that disease to kill the Palestinians of the area. So one thing that Israel and South Africa both have in common, that they are settler colonies, right? Well, formerly settler colonies, I would say, for South Africa, because quote unquote the white population no longer politically runs the country. So on paper, whatever, we all know the truth. But you had a population come from Europe to stay and wants to eliminate the native population, just like the United States, just like Canada, just like Australia, New Zealand, so on and so forth. So I think that this Zionist interest, this is in South Africa, all of a sudden, to sponsor this independence movement is a way of payback. Or you wanna speak out against our genocide? Well, guess what? We're gonna insert ourselves into your business. We're gonna try to fracture your nation and take you over. So this has to be dealt with harshly and quickly. This Zionist ideology is they really want a greater Israel, right? And they don't just want to remain a little small speck in the Middle East. They want to take over Lebanon. They want to take over Syria. They want to take over parts of Saudi Arabia, Iraq. They want to go all the way to Iran. They want to go into Egypt and Sudan, right? All of this was a part of quote unquote Israel in biblical times. So they're trying to use a book that Jewish people wrote to justify Jewish supremacy. And that's really what it is. And it's such a odd thing to me, that we can have this, we can talk about certain types of supremacy and certain types of ideology and how it connects to the religion, but we can't ever really say anything about Judaism, right? As if Judaism is above reproach. But it says in the Talmud how you should treat the Goyim, right? The Goyim are cattle, you know? The Goyim are to be used for the benefit of the Jewish people. So it's, to me, we can talk about, and rightfully so when we talk about Christianity and Islam, but Judaism, because of the so-called idea of them being quote unquote God's chosen people, right? It leads to an idea of superiority. And I think there's another thing going back to South Africa, the World Council on Racism, I believe in the early 2000s, they said Zionism was racism. And because of that, the United States and Israel walked out of the conference because they did not want to acknowledge that the ideas of Jewish supremacy or the Jewish right to all Jewish homeland is in fact racism. So there's a lot of stuff going back here, but it really, I think, is just meant to destabilize the continent, right? I believe that this allows them to take advantage, and this is exactly the type of behavior that African people do not need to be engaging in right now. We don't need to be engaging in dealing with the hostile settler colony who's in the midst of a genocide right fucking now. Why are you even dealing with these people, right? The fact they can come to your land, and take out parts of your land and use it for whatever the fuck, that's a threat to your national sovereignty. And you think you are better than the Palestinians? They'll bomb you too. You can't let these African leaders who are behaving in individual instead of working with their neighbors, who instead of coming together as a block, these people are a threat to the continent, because we are living in a time where people are linking up. They're locking in, as the kids say, right? And trying to organize and unite as blocks. They want a multipolar world. And this is not what Africans are doing. We're really kind of playing the game. Somebody give them a late pass, because they definitely got to get it together. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Well said, Black Seal. Man, good conversation from everyone. If there's no last thoughts here on this topic, let's squeeze in the final topic for tonight. That'll be Shoot the Breeze topic number 5. But this conversation is a necessary one. And I don't believe for a second that Kenyan officials haven't heard this or aren't hearing the pushback the diaspora is giving. This is why, by the way, Pan-Africanism is so important, as opposed to what Frank Zanu will be talking about earlier. We got to start holding each other in check. And that's why they don't want Pan-Africanism, because they don't want the collective saying to the outlier, hey, man, lock in and get your shit together. You know what I mean? Lock in and get your shit together. Brother Bakari is back. Did you want to comment on this prompt here? Nope. Bakari is gone again. So I'll move on to Shoot the Breeze topic number 5. Shoot the Breeze topic number 5 kind of builds on this same idea. Shoot the Breeze topic number 5 says, this white guy in the video coming gets it more than some of y'all. This is in reference to the Ghanaian and Kenyan women who had sex with the Russian guy. This takes us to a tweet. So it takes us to Twitter. And I'm going to read the quick thing. It says, this foreigner has a message for the Ghanaian and Kenyan women. Sorry about that. Let me reconnect. Let me reconnect my disconnected for some reason. Let me bring in Brother Bakari in the meantime. Brother Bakari, did you want to add something to that last prompt, or are you good? I guess Bakari can't hear me.
I'm here now, man. I don't know what happened, man. I was having technical
Sorry
difficulties,
for
I
all the
guess.
technical difficulties. Okay. So I'm going to go to Shooter Breeze topic number 5. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. But Shooter Breeze topic number 5 says this white guy gets it more than some of y'all. This is in reference to the Ghanaian and Kenyan women who had sex with the Russian guy. Let's tune into this video and then we'll discuss it.
Watching those videos about this new Russian scandal. What can I say? From one side, it is very, very shocking to me, and I'm sending sincerely my empathy for all the victims. But also, I'm not that surprised. And why? First of all, I am not surprised about that here in Ghana, it's often the victims are blamed and laughed at. And this is not okay. I don't know how would you feel if it would happen to you, dear commenter. It's a tough case and it's a social issue. So, yeah, first of all, ladies, I understand that many of you are desperate or poor and having hardships. But this color will not decide about a person's wealth and every other levels in life. Often as a foreigner, so I see that I'm the Obruni, so I must be rich, I must be a multimillionaire, I must have 5 penthouses and a swimming pool, which is not the reality. Also I started my career, I traveled to another country to work with one luggage, I was cleaning toilets for years, dishwashing, being a waiter, bartender. I did everything to survive, but I worked, I kept my dignity up, which I pride, and I slowly built up my career, I built up my education, my life, and until today I'm paying my student loan. I'm in debt because of my study. But this tough life made me who I am. That's why I have discipline. I get crushed, I stand up, I continue. So that's the thing, that I think the local mindset needs to change about it, and it's time to move on from the colonial mindset. It's time to start to trust, and do what we have to. My country was also, we were slaughtered, we were enslaved by the Turkish, we were also ruled by others. So there is difference between white people and white people, and you need to be careful. Take care of yourselves. Very, very important. I'm seeing many young ladies, while I'm sitting out somewhere having my chicken wing or having my cola, and I'm seeing beautiful young ladies with this old, fat, hanging, soggy, white or any other foreign man. And to be honest with you, maybe it's my judgmental side, but it's like my stomach is rolling. I want to throw up on the table because it's obvious. Why is it happening? There's a huge, at least 30+ year age gap. Come on. And I don't like to hear that when people say, well, it's beneficial for both of them. One gets the money and one enjoys the fresh meat. No, let's not be like this. Ladies, put up your standards. Even if it's hard, dignity. Dignity is the most freaking beautiful thing ever. The will to live, wanting to improve. This is the beauty. Not that I'm getting money, I'm getting this, I want to get clothes. Do you have some money on me? My mom raised me as a single mom, She was a nurse until she got retired, but she was every time working every day 12 hours to provide me. So it's tough. And I also call out the government to start to finally work for the society. Not just being patriotic, it's one thing, but to start to work deep in the people's minds, to change and shift the narrative, educate, start to work on the society, reach down to the lower classes, shape them, form them, provide certain jobs, in generally jobs that you don't have to pay to get a job, because I hear it often in Ghana. There is a lot of gold in this country and natural resources, and we are still on this level here that people can't live. So I think it's really a multiple layered system. So ladies, appreciate yourselves, love yourselves enough, and have faith and work. Yeah. Beside that, watch out with Russian people. They are one of the most selfish, soulless people. And I experienced many, many Russian people through my career. You need to be careful. oftentimes they are racist. So anybody else than them, for them it's inferior. They come here, do their business, and they call certain people on very, very disgusting names. So watch out. Even if he's young, seemingly good looking in comparison to, which I mentioned before, the soggy old man syndrome. But don't give yourself so easily. Normally, people will not promise you to give you a passport, a visa, and fly out of the country after one sex or two. Relationship takes time and trust and values. And for a European, for example, for us, what can you also give in the table? These fairy tales that I was saved that of poverty, these are Venus film level of things, These are fictions mostly. Normally, people, they look for someone who is reliable, is able to provide, be it emotional, intellectual, not just the physical one, you know. So please, ladies, take care of yourselves. And I'm really, really sorry for what happened to you, and and
All right. Provide triggers asked a question, I guess, as I was moving on to this prompt. She said the question is, does the AU understand the practice of Pan Africanism? A real question here. I'm going to take a stab at answering that by giving you all this little situation I had. Years ago, I had a situation at work, and I called my union to query about making a complaint. And me and the union rep, we go back and forth discussing the particulars of the matter. And after a certain point, the union rep says to me, he says, "Hey, listen, man, this union is subsidized by your employer. So who do you think the union is going to stand up for ultimately?" And that's really the answer about the AU. The AU is subsidized. Who you think they're gonna? Who you think they know what Pan Africanism? Who you think they're gonna stand up for? And that's your answer. We should read topic number 5. What does it say? Should read topic number 5 says this white guy we just saw gets it more than some of y'all, in reference to the Ghanaian and Kenyan women who had sex with the Russian guy. Let me mix it up this time. Let me start with Brother Bakari this time. Brother Bakari would say.
Okay, what I have to say about that is we talked about that last week. Black men did. I don't need to listen to no white guy talk about it. There was a whole lot of black women that came out and said something about those black women. A lot of black women from those countries came out and said something about those black women. So to sit and say a white guy get it and more than us, I have no idea who sent that on Discord, but I don't need to listen to the white guy. Black men have already spoken on it, whether we agree or disagree. Black women from Ghana, Kenya came out and spoke about those black women. So therefore, that's all I got to say about it.
All right. Black Steel, what say you?
So I don't agree with this man, right? He is making it seem like it's about money, right? And these women see a foreign man with money, and they would go for him because it's about the money. He's white, he has money. I disagree with him, right? I believe that in the minds of these women, whiteness itself is the currency, right? If he was a regular, everyday black man from another country, he would not get the same level of play, right? So they make it sound like going after foreign men because foreign men have money. Do you believe they would go after an African American man like that? No, we don't. I don't believe that they would, right? He's missing the mark because he doesn't want to put race in the equation. The reality is that in an anti-black world, whiteness has value, right? And the closer your proximity to whiteness in the minds of some black people, the better off you'll be, right? That's the issue. It's many black people. We're just talking about black women right now. That's where we get the whole swirlers, the divestors, the pasta and lobster. Got a white boy on my roster, type of stuff. That's where all this comes from. That's where the Blancamiento, the Mejor La Raza, the free people of color. This is a sickness that black African people have because a result of our colonization, our our slavery, and any other thing. Because there were avenues to escape from mixed race people that were not available in maybe not in the English speaking world, but in French and Spanish colonies, there were elements where if you were a little bit lighter on the totem pole, you could escape some of the daily brutality of slavery, right? So it made wanting to reproduce and get with mainly white men from this perspective a benefit, right? That mentality is hard to break. So I don't agree with him in that it's just about money. Because I don't know if y'all remember the story about the young lady. I think her last name was Robinson. But she went on a blind date with this dirty looking white man, cracker look homeless. He killed the child and dismembered her. They still don't know where all her body parts are, right? But what would make this beautiful black woman? She was a gorgeous young lady, right? She could have had any man she wanted. What would make her go out and date a homeless white man? Right? And you can say, oh, maybe he had money. But the man, you can look at this man. This man didn't look like he had money. He wasn't well dressed. He was just a regular old white dude. But because whiteness has value, right? And also the propaganda too. It's very telling to me. So much propaganda is put out about white men, right? Get you a white man, girl. White men treat us better. Oh, get you and white men are this and they're nicer and they know how to respect black women and so on and so forth. It's crazy that most of the people in the Epstein files, probably what 95% of them is white men, right? You got a whole pedophile ring of white men, right? They don't want to hear, they don't want to understand that white men are the demons and the monsters you think black men are. You'll always hear, oh, black men don't want to do this. Black men don't take care of your kids. But white men are the deadbeat parents of the world. White men have created whole ethnic groups off of raping women and leaving the children behind to fend for themselves. It's mind blowing. We got to deal with the propaganda that 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 infects the black people's mind first, more than anything. It ain't all, it ain't most, but it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's very telling that when if you know social media isn't real life. That's very true, but it does have a way to spread information and misinformation as well. And I think that's very telling that the misinformation about how good white men are is just constantly being spread. And it's not even white men spreading it. It's black women. It's Asian women. You have Asian women who say they won't date an Asian man. They want a white man. You have black women who say, I've never. It is so telling. It was a dark skinned black woman. She used to be on this podcast called The Grapevine. She's a beautiful sister. But she was like, no one ever called me beautiful until a white man called me beautiful. And I said, I know you fucking lying. 'Cause- but but the reason I say she's lying is because in her mind, a black man saying she was beautiful doesn't carry the same weight as a white man saying she's beautiful. We got to deal. You got to deal with the mentality that has elevated whiteness within the minds of African people and caused us not to see the beauty within ourselves, within our own people. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
But I feel like I agree with what you said, except for in the beginning To this white boy's credit in the video here, he does point to whiteness. He does it on 2 occasions. Granted, they're blinking, you'll miss it kind of things, but he does point to, don't fall for this whiteness bullshit. He even mentions that, I think he mentioned about himself, he used to sweep floors or throw garbage or something. He's like, some of these dudes ain't really, basically he was saying a lot of these white dudes ain't really on nothing economic anyhow. So, so he does point out the whiteness part of it, as you said.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah, he does. He points it out twice. In the chat, Culture Education says Black Steel got it. Although black men from the U.S. do get more reception from black women in Spanish neo-colonies than local black men, but perhaps because black men from the U.S. have closer proximity to whiteness. Sure, I'm coming to you next. Earlier, Trigger Happy 262 Plus said people keep saying poverty. Yes, it's an element, but it's exaggerated to lessen the element that many are addicted to whiteness. I don't know why our people don't want to accept this. He says every panel I listened to, there was a faction of Ghanaians who kept pushing that there is no race element. They don't want to hear that white man had warped their minds. Lastly, he says Kenya is open about their love for white men. West Africa does it on the low, and especially with Lebanese, Chinese, and Indo-Aryans. So those are some of the comments from the chat. Sister Cheryl is chomping at the bit. Sister Cheryl, are you aware of the story? We talked about it last week for one of the problems. Are you aware of the story of the Russian guy who was, I'm trying to put it nicely, but who was picking up young black women in Ghana and Kenya?
I don't think I'm aware of that. I think my husband might have said something about it briefly, but I'm not familiar with this particular case. But I am familiar with white people who are like this. I think this is the type of white person that is the most dangerous for black people because this is the type of white person who instills confusion. And I say that because, well, he starts the conversation by saying, Black women, you need to be careful. And then he says, well, there are some guys that are racist, which leads me to think, okay, well then there's some Russian guys or some white guys that are racist. And then some indicates to me that you gotta really listen to what they're saying. And this is how they confuse black people into saying, well, it's not all of them. It's just some of them. So he says some of the Russian guys I can speak personally that they are racist, um, which indicates to me that some of them aren't. And I think he's referencing himself. So to me, it's okay. Well, he's saying some of them aren't because he's not one of them. So you gotta be careful with that because to black people, it's well, oh, he's speaking out on this issue. So he's bringing attention to the black women. So he must be a good one. That's what we get. We get caught with that a lot.
I have to interject.
Go ahead.
He didn't say some Russian men are racist. He actually said Russian guys across the board. Right?
I heard some of them.
No, he said Russian guys are racist. And you have to be careful with these Russian guys because they're racist. That's what he said. By the way, full disclosure, I don't usually do this, but I put this prompt up, and I'll tell you why I put this prompt up. But Bakari says whoever put this up must need validation. No, I don't need validation. I put it up because when we as black men discussed it last week, a lot of black men was claiming it was something that it wasn't. But this guy is in Ghana, and he's a white guy. He could have easily pretended that it was something that it wasn't. But he's coming out and tell you, hey, black women, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't let these white guys come here and you just think that there's something, and so there's a come up in dealing with which is what some of us black men were saying last week. Don't let these people come here and make you think it's a come up, that they got money. He said, "Look at me. I used to throw out garbage or clean tents." Something like that, he said. He's like, don't let them fool you. And then later in the video, he says, and as far as these Russian guys go, don't trust them, man. These guys are not good people, right? So that's why I posted. I didn't post it for validation. I posted to show black men, hey, man, we got to believe what we see. It's not always the case that we're being fooled or something. Sometimes we got to see it for what it is and believe what we see and deal with it as the problem that it is.
Cool. I think.
Yeah, but no. He's saying it. He's saying it because he's having sex.
Hold on. Let me say, Coco. One thing I noticed in Bitter Message podcast, man, there's a tendency to shoot the messenger, right? There's a tendency to shoot the messenger. I'm gonna stay to say something that's probably gonna be criticized, right? All white people ain't racist. They're not. However, it don't matter ultimately if they're not all racist, because the ones that ain't racist ain't about to bust a grape. So all white people ain't racist, but the ones that aren't racist ain't the ones running the show, right? So I'm not really concerned about the ones that ain't racist. I'm worried about the ones that are racist because they're the ones causing the problem. But whether this dude is racist or not, to me, he does present a valid point. And instead of addressing his point, let's not shoot the messenger.
Okay, can I
All
go?
right, go ahead. Yeah.
Lord. Okay. Not even sure where to start. Okay. I understand what he's saying. I was gonna address that. He said black women be careful. And sure, I'm sure black women have heard from many people to be careful who are not white. I'm sure they've heard it. But the point is that they'll listen. If it's a white man, they're going to listen to that, right? So, I mean, and also, he's having sex with white women. I mean, with black women. It's very obvious. It's extremely obvious. You know, he definitely has had some African women. That is a fact. That is a fact. You can tell by the intonation in his voice.
You know this man?
You can tell by his body language. Look at his body language. Look, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this year after year. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this. Why?
You don't know this man from holding it
on. Why does he think this is an important thing to bring to attention on social media? Why? What does he benefit? What does he benefit? What does he benefit as a white man with black people? What does he benefit? What does he benefit? Why does he care? Why? Why does he care? Because he's having sex with them. And he's a good one. He's one of the good ones. That's the point.
But here's the thing, Sher. It don't really matter whether he good or not, because they still fucking him whether they good or not. I mean,
but the point is that, okay, y'all missing the point. The point is that he's coming out to speak about it. But random white guys don't just get on the internet and talk about black women be safe. He's engaged with a black woman on some level. He's in a relationship with one on some level. No white man feels the need to reach out to social media to tell anybody that if he's not engaged with one in some form or fashion. That's what we need to understand. So this even him just being on social media, it serves as an excuse for black people to say, well, not all of them are bad. Well, not all of them. Well, guess what? Look at Russia's history with Africa. They bet like they do have some involvement with colonialism, but not to the extent that like the Belgians or the English. they're not as involved in colonialism. So of course he feels comfortable enough to speak out against it. It makes sense. It makes sense. He's all the way in Russia. Of course he feels comfortable. We got to look at historical context. He's gonna feel comfortable. Okay, like just like a Swedish aren't really involved in. They don't care about what's going on. But so if they see something and they're prompted to say something about it, they're gonna say something. It's like, oh, well, they should be doing for their own people. Da, da, da. And black people jump on that like, oh yeah, there's some good ones out there. That's what that serves. When you get on social media, that's the perception that everyone has. So it doesn't matter all of that other stuff. It doesn't matter. All that matters is the perception of him as a white man. It doesn't matter if he's Russian. Nobody knows he's Russian if he doesn't say it. He's just a white man. They just see a white man on social media talking about, oh well, these black women need to be careful. And it's true. Sure, it's true. Why not? It's true that black women do need to be careful with these white men and getting involved with them because of money. He's stating a fact. We can still acknowledge that, but his presence saying it is he knows they know what he knows. He's not stupid. He knows there's a lot of white men on social media, and a whole bunch of white men aren't just on social media talking about this. So we gotta really always think about why are you doing this? There's so many other issues in the world. Why are you talking about this? Because you've had some type of affiliation with African people on a personal relationship level.
But I mean, respectfully, I still don't see where that changes the messaging, though, because
it doesn't change the messaging. The messaging, because these women have heard that message from other people. But the point is that they're only going to listen to it if it's from a white man. That's the point.
Well, that's their problem. That's the issue that we need to get to. The issue we need to get to, like Bakari is saying in the chat, why the black woman in Ghana spoke about it, and the reason why I didn't bring any of those videos is because when I tried to play through a lot of black women's videos, I'll be honest with you, they switch between, I don't know which Ghanaian language it is, and English, and it's kind of hard to follow what it is they're trying to get across. But this guy actually says it pretty clearly, and I think he kind of explains his whole thing. He's a immigrant in Ghana. He sits down and he sees these women with these white guys, and he generalizes white. He doesn't just pick on Russians. He generalizes white, and he says, I see y'all with these big belly white men, blah, 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 and you think you're getting something out of it. There's nothing to get out of it. He addresses the government. Hey, you guys need to educate these people, right? You got to educate these people, bring up their self-esteem. I can't knock that message. I wish more black men out the gate would have had that message.
But he has an incentive to do it because he's engaged with one. He's engaged. He most definitely is. He most definitely. If he got on social media, to talk about this issue, he's most definitely engaged with. You got to look at the body language. You got to look at how he's saying things.
As a black man, listen, would I not also have an interest in saying something about this thing as well?
What's your point?
I mean, what's yours?
Your incentive, because my point is the reason he's saying it is because his incentive is to attract more black women.
That's my incentive too. That's what's up.
Okay, black men don't need that incentive. They don't need that incentive. They can just walk up to a black woman and just tell them. They don't need to get on social media. That's the.
Have you ever tried to get a black woman? Because damn.
But my point is okay. The point is that he's white, so they're gonna believe him over the black person. That's why he's doing it. That it serves as a point of confusion. If a black man does it, it doesn't serve as a point of confusion. A white man that fuels the confusion. That's the point.
I'll say this. If a bear tells me not to walk into a bear trap, I ain't gonna be confused. I think I gonna avoid the bear trap. To me, it's about the message. In this particular case, I understand that they play these little tricks and stuff like that, so I get where Alma's coming from. And you know what, Alma might even have a point. I see Trigger kind of said something similar. Maybe he's trying to drive a little pipeline to get some black girls to mess with him. It'll be kind of weird because he's talking about himself as a white man in general. But so be it. But the point of this prompt, let me just reiterate that for a second. And I think Black Seal is onto something too. A lot of times we get on the messenger and we don't deal with the message. I remember when Gas 'Em Up used to come around. Gas 'Em Up put up a prompt on Foucault. And people were like, Foucault? Why are we discussing Foucault? A little while ago, we just discussed Plato. Why are we discussing Plato? But isn't it the message that makes sense? To me, that's what makes the most sense, the message, right? With that said, though, Juan, you've heard everything else that was said. What say you?
Yeah, so forgive me, because my American brothers and sisters keep on calling this person a white man. He looked like an Abdul to me. Forgive me, because he looked like he's eat kebabs and stuff. I didn't think he was a white guy. I thought he was an Abdul character. But needless to say, let me say, I didn't hear the sisters from Ghana respond. I do need to listen to those videos because I am curious to know how the Ghanaian sisters actually did respond to what was happening in Ghana. I did hear the government of Ghana respond. So the government of Ghana did respond to what the sisters was doing, and they put out something as far as like a bolo, Interpol bolo on this guy, as he ran back to Russia. So I'm thinking that they are collectively dealing with these kinds of issues. And someone said, well, it's not the fact that he may not necessarily be penalized, him specifically, because the Ghanaian government the Russian government does not extradite any of their citizens. But the Ghanaian politician was saying that it will stop or curb the other Russians or other people from coming into the country and trying the same kinds of things. Because this guy, if he goes outside of Russia and Interpol gets him, he'll have to face what he would have done in Ghana. So even though he may not necessarily be punished for what he did, I think it'll stop a whole lot of other passport bros coming into Ghana and trying to do the same kinds of things. So I respect the country of Ghana for actually standing up and speaking on this issue. In particular, it was men talking and the men from the government speaking in the video, but I did not hear the sisters respond in terms of what their sisters was doing in Ghana. So I say shout out to them. This guy, he did have a good message and all that good stuff. But I think, for me, Brother Bakari is right. I really am more concerned with what the Ghanaian government has to say about it and what the sisters on the ground have to say about it. I take that in hand more so than, even though this particular guy had a good message and all that good stuff, I really want to hear from the people themselves what they thought about what this interloper did when he came into Ghana and what he was trying to do. So that's really all I have to say on this, really.
Appreciate that. Is there any other last thoughts on this prompt before we do shout outs tonight? And by the way, let me just say this too. I get the idea of it serves some confusion, I guess, because the white guy says it. But here's the thing: every week or every other week, y'all tell me meet people where they are. That's where our people are anyway. Our people listen to white folks. When we was talking about it last week, people were shooting down the same shit that I was saying. People were shooting it down. And here it is. This guy sat there and he came up with his message on it himself. Right? It is what it is. We gotta say what we gotta say. And hopefully people will start listening to the messages that we put out. But a lot of our people really just listen to these other folks. And it is what it is.
Coco.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah. Hey, Coco, don't take it personal, brother. Because sometimes when I put props up, they shoot me down too. So don't take it personal.
I ain't taking it personal. But I will speak up on it. I'm not gonna back down from it. Right? We our people always listen to these folks. My putting it up was more so was for the shock of it. Well, I guess if this white guy says that, I guess there's something to it. Because when we were saying something about it, people were shooting it down. You understand? In any event, Trigger says, true, we say it as black men, we insecure and can't compete. That was the rhetoric of many Ghanaian women, by the way. So that tells you a lot of what it is. But before you guys leave, man, please, if you don't mind, let's do shout outs for this week. Let me just go right down the line. Black Steel, what would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out to Reverend Jesse Jackson. May he rest in peace, man. He was a controversial figure, but shout out to him. Rest in peace.
Black Steel, real quick, because I had put up a post on this, and people seem to avoid that post when I asked what are your thoughts on Jesse Jackson. Like, do you have any thoughts on, I'm not trying to besmirch the brother in death, but it is something that has been discussed a lot. What's up, brother? Stephen Coakley and them talked about it. People with no ties on are friendlies and all that kind of stuff. What are your real thoughts about him in terms of MLK and the assassination and all that stuff?
Man, so first of all, I feel like there are rumors out there, right? I don't know how substantiated those rumors are, right? But I have heard of the rumors about him being behind Dr. King's assassination. We also know that there was I think his photographer, Dr. King's photographer, was an FBI agent as well too. I think one of his photographers was. So it could. I don't know, and because I don't know, I tend to kind of be hesitant to speak on certain things. I like to kind of speak with some level of knowledge. So if I know something, I don't like to assume. I think Jesse did a lot of good things. He did some bad things too. I think he ran probably one of the most progressive presidential campaigns in America. Like the stuff he asking for back then, it would never do now. But I mean, I don't know. He was a complicated figure. He was a human being. I don't really know too much about. I've heard the rumors. I know just the rumors about him being behind Dr. King's assassination, or that he was working with the FBI. I don't know if that's true or not. I think that in a situation like that, FBI, they never really needed agents to really get in close to kill black people. Especially they already had one embedded within Dr. King's circle. Again, like I said, his photographer was already working for them. But I don't know. But I do know that Jesse, he did some good for the community. He wasn't all bad. He definitely did some good for the community. So with that in mind, I just like to kind of keep positive. Rest in peace to him and his family. I know that he was 84, lived a long life. I feel like sometimes I got more days behind me than ahead of me. So it just kind of helps me feel in touch with my, just kind of gives me little reminders of my own mortality. So rest in peace to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Brother Kai, what did I shout out this week?
Shout out Focaz on this book. Congratulations. I can give a shout out to Reverend Jesse Jackson, and I'm gonna say Reverend Jesse Jackson has some good and some bad because he's human. I know everybody say he I don't know how these people would know he had anything to do with setting up the MLK murder, but not a but about that. But I can say this. Well, I will say this. I was told as a young boy by a grown man that I look up to who was in that lifestyle, said, be careful of Jesse Jackson. Not that he harmed MLK, but being out there with them, you could tell that he wanted to take MLK place. and I had a problem Mississippi, and I had all those companies boycott the state of Mississippi, the state with the most black people, and they was bringing these businesses and these companies, and people need jobs, and say, don't bring them there because they got the Confederate flag in Mississippi. So I had a problem with them because I'm black and I'm from Mississippi, and I know folks needed those damn jobs. And shit, where they come to places like Atlanta that's flying the Confederate flag in 2026, nobody ever said boycott. Nobody ever did anything like that, as if the people in Mississippi didn't need anything. But hey, that's my thoughts on Jesse Jackson. Can I answer a forecast question right quick?
Of course, yeah.
Fam, what do I think? That's a state law. And fam, you have a blagger president. I know all y'all was for Donald Trump. Well, they have a blagger president. So therefore, she lived by the rules. That's a state law where they can't say they don't know university campuses in the state of Florida, which is crazy to me. It's just going where they can say history. It's going to American history. This regime want to wipe out black history everywhere. So that's a state law they put in place. And when they got one of their people, blagger, to be president of the university, everything that they wanted, that the school was fighting against, like they fought against her and she still got the job. Everything that the school was fighting against, she's going to implement it because she's with them. That's really the bottom line to that. She's with them. She believed in the regime. She loved the governor of Florida, whatever his name is. I can't even remember his name. She'll confess to her love for him and her love for Donald Trump. So whatever they do.
A black woman, upper guy?
Yeah.
Have mercy.
What they call her, Ugly Wig Fanny, I think. What is her name? Fanny is her name for whatever. Ugly Wig March. That's what they call her. Ugly Wig March. Ugly Wig March. That's what they were talking about. Yeah, man, she's something else. But that's what it is. And I'm gonna shout out all the shout out. Shout out to you, Koku, every week, man, for hosting this, for hosting this panel. Yeah, and also once before I go, Jesse Jackson did do some good things. If I say he didn't do no good things, I would be lying. He did some good. Now I saw people online was talking about good. He gone. Now we can get rid of that made up name he thought of, African American. That's what some people on Twitter were saying about him. I'm not going to rejoice in Jesse Jackson's death. He wasn't perfect. He did some things. Yeah, I can say something pissed me off. He wasn't perfect, though. He did some good things. He did some bad things. He human. I yield the mic.
Yeah, I just to be clear, I didn't want to besmirch the brother, Jesse Jackson, but I have, once hearing about the MLK stuff, that never sat well with me. But like Brother Bakari said, how do we know for certain what he was involved in with that, if he was at all? But like KW Don 7 does say, Jesse Jackson was the biggest benefactor of the MLK assassination. So I just was curious to see what people thought about. And KW Don 7 brings up another point too. When Farrakhan's time is up, how will he be remembered? I'm sure probably well as well. But we saw Farrakhan brag about what they took care of a traitor in their nation, right? With that said, my sister Cheryl, what would you like to shout this week?
Oh man. All right, don't light me up. Shout out to, I'm gonna stay on the topic. Shout out to Jesse Jackson. But no, don't not shout out to Jesse Jackson. Shout out to the fact that he like outed Obama. Like like that man did not That man did not like Obama, and he did not like Obama because he said Obama was the worst thing that happened to black people in this country because he totally blindsided black people. Even today, black black people black people still love Obama. Obama was like he really called out Obama. Like I'm not really for I'm not for Jesse Jackson like that. It's just he's just one of those dudes. He's just a house dude, a house nigga. But like I think the fact that he outed Obama, he said, he got on a public platform and said this man didn't do nothing for black people in so many words. And a lot of black people did not want to hear that. A lot of black people do not want to hear that right now. So I commend that. That was awesome. Nobody is saying that now. Not even now. Nobody wants to say anything bad about Obama. Obama was the destruction. Like he was the biggest like con for black people because all black people every black person I know was in love with Obama just based off of how he looked. Like they didn't even care about what he was doing in Africa and denying certain African countries aid because they wouldn't accept the LGBT movement. Black people did not even know about that stuff. They didn't even care. So I say shout out to that portion. I want to emphasize that portion. Shout out to that. That was amazing. So, but everything else, he does the coonish stuff. He does certain things. I just don't agree with. I can say all of that, and I can still say that I don't agree with him. I don't agree with Jesse Jackson. So shout out to that portion.
Yeah, Jesse said he'll cut off his nuts on a hot mic. Talking about Obama, that was interesting too. Culture Education says even Rastafari reggae musicians made songs for Obama. Shout out to Ike and Fire who's in the chat as well. Ike and Fire said Colin Powell was the main black person in the assassination of MLK. I had no idea. I've never even associated those two people. That's news to me. Last but not least, Buana, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yes. So let me say, it's not a brother Bakari. It's not a bad thing that the lady from FAMU got rid of the title of black. And the reason why I say that is you refer to yourself as African American. So if they take away blackness, that's not hurting you because you believe that you should be referred to as an African American person. So let them keep the term black. You just call me African or African American. No problem. Problem sorted. As far as that lady, the president of FAMU, she ain't hurt people who consider themselves as African American. All she did is brought the people closer who was running away from African to refer to themselves as just that. Because if you're referring to yourself as black, you have to refer to yourself as something else now. So now you're African American. How about that? But as far as Jesse Jackson is concerned, God rest the dead, or how they say in the Bahamas, he did what he needed to do. He was an integrationist person. Me and his politics is very different. I do think that he may have helped a lot of people within his community and outside of it. He was more of a African American person. So, shout out to his efforts in trying to assist in what he did within his community. That's the really only thing I can say about Reverend Jesse Jackson. If you really want to hear a very good obituary or synopsis of Obama's life, I was listening to Dr. Greg Carr this morning, and he gave an excellent rundown on Jesse Jackson and many of the different things historically of the works of Jesse Jackson and the people who he was linked to and all these other things. So, if you have the time, catch that episode. He did a very good breakdown on Jesse Jackson's life. Lastly, let me say this to the government of Ghana. Shout out to the government of Ghana for standing up on behalf of your women. Because we was talking about having consequences in terms of what you do in your society and protecting your society. And even if it's just in word and name only, I respect the fact that there were politicians speaking on the subject, and there were many leaders within the government itself speaking on that particular thing and not wanting the women or the people of Ghana to be exploited. So there was a response in terms of this Russian guy coming to Ghana and trying to be exploitative to the women of that society. So that needs to be mentioned. So shout out to the Ghanaian government. I haven't heard what the ladies had to say about it. I will take a listen to that as well. But just the fact that they did that alone, you don't hear that a lot. So shout out to their response in terms of how that women was being perceived, you know, in the world itself or in general. So I really do respect that. So shout out to the Ghanaian government. That's really all I wanted to say.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.